Chapter 2268. Shao Chun directly ordered Li Suifeng to go to the Cliff of Reflection to repent for a year. Hearing this, Li Suifeng's expression changed drastically. He looked at Shao Chun with a pitiful expression and said, "Sect Master, I am indeed thinking for the sake of my junior brothers. What I am thinking about is, if I leave, what will happen to them?" Shao Chun directly ordered Li Suifeng to go to the Cliff of Reflection to repent for a year. Hearing this, Li Suifeng's expression changed drastically. He looked at Shao Chun with a pitiful expression and said, "Sect Master, I am indeed thinking for the sake of my junior brothers. What I am thinking about is, if I leave, what will happen to them?" Li Suifeng still wanted to defend himself and make Shao Chun change his mind. After all, the Cliff of Reflection was simply too boring. With Li Suifeng's temperament, staying there for a year would cost him his life. However, facing Li Suifeng's defense, Shao Chun said indifferently, "You are one of the 10 sword sect's sword fanatics. Don't you think that you are a disgrace to the sword sect if you are captured alive? As for your junior brothers, do you think they would dare to kill them? If that is the case, I will bury the entire Flame Wind realm with them." Li Suifeng's excuse was not valid in Shao Chun's eyes. Would Wu Kefeng and the others dare to kill the sword sect's disciples? Even if they dared, with Shao Chun's temperament, he would definitely destroy the Flame Wind realm to pay for these core disciples' lives. This was the current power of the sword sect. "If you kill my disciples, I will destroy your realm." These words were indeed very arrogant, especially in the ears of Wu Kefeng and the others. It was simply too arrogant. The Flame Wind realm was a minor world. How could it be destroyed just like that? Immediately, the tall and strong man sitting beside Wu Kefeng stood up angrily and shouted, "Arrogant words. You are courting death." The tall and strong man's temper was indeed a little fiery. However, after hearing his words, Shao Chun did not even look at him. He only indifferently said, "Noisy." Then, he directly pointed at him. The blood-red light flashed and headed straight for the burly man. Faced with Shao Chun's finger, the burly man instantly felt his hair stand on end. An extreme aura of death instantly enveloped him. He wanted to dodge, but for some reason, Shao Chun's aura had locked onto him. The tall and strong man discovered that he couldn't even move. It was true that the tall, muscular man had a cultivation base at the Dao realm perfection stage. However, in Shao Chun's opinion, such a cultivation base was simply too weak. In Shao Chun's opinion, the tall and strong man's cultivation level was not as high as the sword sect's elders who were only at the beginner level of Dao realm. The reason for this was because of the difference in their foundations. After all, the Flame Wind world was just a small world. Even if it gave birth to an End Realm expert, it obviously couldn't be compared to the sword sect. Just as the tall and strong man was about to be killed by Shao Chun's finger, Wu Kefeng suddenly moved. He blocked in front of the tall and strong man and punched out, wanting to block Shao Chun's finger. Wu Kefeng was also at the beginner level of End Realm, the same realm as Shao Chun. He originally thought that blocking Shao Chun's attack wouldn't be difficult for him. However, the moment the two of them clashed, Wu Kefeng instantly regretted it. A look of disbelief flashed across his eyes and he couldn't help but say, "How is this possible?" They were at the same realm and Shao Chun had just casually pointed, but Wu Kefeng couldn't block it at all. In a head-on clash, Wu Kefeng was instantly sent flying by Shao Chun's finger. He smashed through the wall of the restaurant and fell heavily onto the street. One finger and Wu Kefeng was defeated. Moreover, looking at Shao Chun, it seemed like he wasn't serious at all. In an instant, the expressions of Wu Kefeng and the others changed, especially the tall and strong man and the beautiful woman. They looked at Shao Chun with shock and fear in their eyes. Facing everyone's shock, Shao Chun's expression didn't change at all. With Shao Chun's current status, defeating a mere Wu Kefeng wasn't a big deal at all. However, before Shao Chun could say anything, Wu Kefeng, who had been sent flying by the finger attack, immediately shouted, "Run!" With just one finger, Wu Kefeng clearly understood the difference between him and Xiao Chun. They were at the same cultivation level, but their combat strength was worlds apart. He knew very well that if they stayed any longer, Xiao Chun could kill all of them here if he wanted to. Without any hesitation, Wu Kefeng immediately ran out of the city. At the same time, the tall and strong man, the beautiful woman, and the other people of the Flame Spirit sect also fled in all directions. However, Xiao Chun didn't have any intention of chasing after them. Instead, he asked the shopkeeper to arrange a private room for him. At this time, the shopkeeper, who had witnessed the whole process, knew Xiao Chun's identity. He didn't expect that this unbelievably handsome young man in front of him was actually the master of the Sword Sect, one of the giants of the Great Thousand World. After hearing Xiao Chun's words, the shopkeeper was stunned for a long time. In the end, he recovered from his shock when Nangong Guan called out to him. He quickly arranged the most luxurious private room for Xiao Chun and the others. In the private room, Xiao Chun sat on the main seat. Nangong Guan and the others sat beside Xiao Chun. As for Li Suifeng and the others, they all stood pitifully to the side. This was especially true for Li Suifeng. When he found out that he had been captured, Xiao Chun was actually a little unhappy. After all, he was the disciple of the Sword Sect's sword maniac. Being captured alive so easily by someone from a minor thousand world was indeed a disgrace to the Sword Sect. With a bitter face, Li Suifeng didn't dare to provoke Xiao Chun again. He could only stand obediently to the side. Not long after, Wu Kefeng, the tall and strong man, the beautiful woman, and the others who had fled in all directions were captured and brought to Xiao Chun again. Xiao Chun didn't make a move, but one shouldn't forget that there were many affiliated forces of the Sword Sect in Tong City. Any one of these affiliated forces was much stronger than the Flame Spirit sect. Therefore, Wu Kefeng and the others didn't even manage to escape from Tong City before they were captured alive. When he arrived in front of Xiao Chun again, Wu Kefeng's expression had completely changed. This was because, excluding Xiao Chun, there were no less than 10 End Realm experts in the private room. Of course, apart from Nangong Guan and the others, the rest were all experts of the various affiliated forces of the Sword Sect. There was no need for the Sword Sect to make a move. Just the affiliated forces of the Sword Sect alone were enough to make the Flame Spirit sect feel inferior. After successfully capturing Wu Kefeng and the others, one of the End Realm experts respectfully asked Xiao Chun, sect leader, "How should we deal with these people? There's no rush. Just kneel." Hearing this, Xiao Chun said calmly. He didn't even look at Wu Kefeng and the others. At this time, Wu Kefeng finally knew how terrifying the Sword Sect was. He also finally understood why Li Suifeng wasn't nervous at all after being captured alive. It was because the Sword Sect was just too strong. They were so strong that it exceeded the knowledge of Wu Kefeng and the others. They could casually summon more than 10 End Realm expert. With such strength, not to mention the Flame Spirit sect, even the strongest power in the Flame Wind world didn't have such methods and ability. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2269. Wu Kefeng and the others obviously didn't know anything about the Great Thousand World. This was because the Flame Wind world had just opened up a space tunnel to the Great Thousand World. Wu Kefeng and the others could be said to be the first batch of Flame Wind world cultivators to enter the Great Thousand World. They had no idea what the Great Thousand World was like. Of course, Wu Kefeng and the others also had a huge problem. Maybe they were used to being overbearing in the Flame Wind world, and thought that they could do the same in the Great Thousand World. Little did they know that in the eyes of the Great Thousand World cultivators, their Flame Wind world was just a remote place. Kneeling on the ground, Xiao Chun ignored them. However, at this moment, Wu Kefeng, who had been captured alive, couldn't help but speak up. You can't kill me. I'm from the Flame Wind World's Wu family. If you kill me, the Wu family won't let you off. Even now, Wu Kefeng was still threatening Xiao Chen. As soon as he said that, an End Realm expert beside him directly slapped Wu Kefeng's face and said fiercely, "How dare you speak to the sect leader like that?" As he said that, he raised his hand and was about to slap Wu Kefeng again. However, Xiao Chen stopped him and looked at Wu Kefeng with interest. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Flame Wind World's Wu family? Based on what you said, this Wu family is very strong? Of course, the Wu family is one of the 4 major powers of the Flame Wind country. There are as many as 8 End Realm experts in the family, and the old ancestor is at the Great Circle of the End Realm. Wu Kefeng said proudly. The Wu family was indeed Wu Kefeng's pride. However, it was a pity that Wu Kefeng was not a direct descendant of the Wu family. He was just a collateral descendant. Otherwise, he would not have left the Wu family to establish the Flame Spirit sect. However, because Wu Kefeng broke through to the End Realm, he returned to the Wu family proudly, and the Flame Spirit sect naturally became a subsidiary power of the Wu family. 8 End Realm experts in a family? He thought that after hearing his words, Xiao Chen and the others would be slightly afraid. However, after Wu Kefeng said that, Xiao Chen and the others didn't change their expressions at all. 8 End Realm experts? What a joke, End Realm. Not to mention anything else, it was just that Wu Kefeng's eyesight wasn't good enough to see through Nangong Guan and the others' cultivation realms. One must know that the Sword Sect had 20 deputy sect leaders, and they were all at End Realm. Their combat strength was at the peak of End Realm. Just the Wu family wasn't enough to scare the Sword Sect. However, Wu Kefeng's words made Xiao Chen interested in the Flaming Wind world. According to Wu Kefeng, the Wu family was just one of the 4 major powers in the Flaming Wind world, and there were 8 End Realm experts in the family. From the looks of it, the Wu family's strength should be considered one of the top powers in the Great Thousand World. Xiao Chen thought to himself, it looks like this Flame Wind world is not an ordinary small thousand world. Among all the small thousand worlds, the overall strength of this Flame Wind world is probably in the top 3. Of course, this was only in the small Kiliacosm, and naturally could not be compared to the Great Kiliacosm. Not to mention the Great Kiliacosm, just the Sword Gate alone was enough to make the Flame Wind world tremble in fear. Xiao Chen was interested in the Flaming Wind realm. He glanced at Wu Kefeng indifferently, then waved his hand and said, "Take him away and return to Sword's Gate together." He wasn't interested in talking nonsense with Wu Kefeng. People of his level didn't have the qualifications to talk to Xiao Chen. Wu Kefeng was taken away and put under strict supervision, while Xiao Chen ordered some wine and dishes. While drinking, he chatted with Nangong Guan and the others. It looks like this Flame Wind world isn't as simple as we thought. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Nangong Guan smiled and said, no matter how complicated it is, it's still a small thousand world. She admitted that the overall strength of the Flame Wind world had exceeded everyone's expectations. But so what? In Nangong Guan's opinion, no matter how strong the Flame Wind world was, it was still a small thousand world. It couldn't pose any threat to the Sword Sect. She agreed with Nangong Guan's words. The Sword Sect did indeed have the confidence to do so. However, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "However, I am very interested in this Flame Wind world." Xiao Chen expressed his interest in the Flame Wind world. Seeing this, Zhou Song asked in surprise, "Sect Master, don't tell me you want to go to the Flame Wind world personally?" Zhou Song guessed what Xiao Chen was thinking, but Xiao Chen did not give a clear answer. He just smiled and did not say anything. His cultivation had reached a bottleneck for the time being. It would be difficult for him to make a breakthrough in a short period of time. Therefore, it would be better for him to go out for a walk. Perhaps there would be some unexpected gains. Xiao Chen was thinking about going to the Flame Wind world, so he didn't stay in Tong City for long. After an hour, Xiao Chen's group, along with Wu Kefeng and the others, returned to the sword sect. From Tong City, there was a transmission glyph array that led directly to the sword sect, so it was very convenient for everyone to come and go. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in the sword sect. As soon as they stepped out of the transmission glyph array, Wu Kefeng and the others were stunned by the scene before them. It was like a world straight out of a painting. Mountain ranges, crevices, and high up in the sky were floating in the air, surrounded by white clouds. From time to time, there were groups of cultivators flying by. What surprised Wu Kefeng and the others the most was the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the Sword's Gate. Such rich world energy was comparable to the cultivation secret territory of the Flame Spirit sect. And this was only the periphery of the Sword sect. How rich would the world energy be in the core area? What about the cultivation secret territory? They didn't expect there to be such a place in the world. This was the holy land of all cultivators' dreams. The strength of a sect could be seen from its mountain gate, and the Sword's Gate's mountain gate was obviously the most impressive mountain gate that Wu Kefeng and the others had ever seen. There was no other. Such a strong sect. This was something that only existed in the imagination of Wu Kefeng and the others. They swallowed their saliva with difficulty. However, at this moment, Song Xing and the others heard that Xiao Chen had returned, so they personally came to welcome him. Another 5 End Realm experts appeared, causing Wu Kefeng's expression to become uglier and uglier. It was hard to imagine how many End Realm experts there were in the Sword sect. From Tong City till now, Wu Kefeng had seen at least 20 End Realm experts. Wu Kefeng obviously didn't know that if the various subsidiary powers of the Sword sect were included, the number of End Realm experts was close to 100. Such a number could be said to be 3 times that of the Flame Wind world, and this was just the Sword sect. However, Wu Kefeng didn't know about all this. When Song Xing arrived, Xiao Chen instructed him to lock Wu Kefeng and the others up. He couldn't let them die, and he couldn't let them escape. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2270. Song Xing naturally wouldn't refuse Xiao Chen's orders. He immediately ordered his men to lock up Wu Kefeng and the others, whose cultivation bases had been sealed, in the dungeon. Song Xing naturally wouldn't refuse Xiao Chen's orders. He immediately ordered his men to lock up Wu Kefeng and the others, whose cultivation bases had been sealed, in the dungeon. Xiao Chen didn't kill Wu Kefeng and the others because he planned to let them bring him to the Flaming Wind world. Since the spatial passage to the Flaming Wind world had appeared in the Sword Mansion, the Sword sect naturally wouldn't let the Flaming Wind world go. Even if they weren't interested in ruling the Flaming Wind world, it wouldn't be a problem to search for precious cultivation resources in the Flaming Wind world. As for what would happen to the native forces of the Fiery Wind realm, Xiao Chen did not even consider it. This was a world where the strong ruled. Since the Fiery Wind realm was not as strong as the Sword's Gate, they would naturally be at the mercy of the Sword's Gate. Wu Kefeng was escorted to the dungeon. Everything he saw along the way was completely beyond his expectations. Therefore, after being locked up in the dungeon, Wu Kefeng couldn't help but ask the elder who escorted him, "May I ask if the Sword sect is the strongest force in the Great Thousand World?" Wu Kefeng originally wanted to say "old man," but after thinking about it, he realized that he was already a prisoner, so he didn't have the right to call himself old man. Therefore, Wu Kefeng had no choice but to change his words. In Wu Kefeng's opinion, the Sword sect was undoubtedly the strongest force in the Great Thousand World since it had such a majestic mountain gate. However, in response to their questions, the elder's answer caused him to be stunned, as if he had been struck by lightning. He shook his head in disbelief. "Our Sword sect is indeed the strongest force in the Great Wide World, but we're not number one. In the Great Wide World, there are 9 other forces that are on par with the Sword sect." Without waiting for Wu Kefeng's reply, the elder immediately turned around and left. The elder did not have a good impression of Wu Kefeng's group. They actually dared to recklessly attack Li Suifeng. This was practically a challenge to the dignity of the sword sect. If not for the sect leader's words to spare his life, Wu Kefeng's head would have already been separated from his body. After the elder left, Wu Kefeng gradually returned to his senses and muttered to himself. How is this possible? It's just one of the forces. One of the forces, in Wu Kefeng's heart. He originally thought that a strong power like the sword sect should be the overlord of the great thousand world. Otherwise, how could there be so many end realm experts? However, judging from the elder's answer, it was obvious that he was gravely mistaken. Overlord of the great thousand world? He was wrong. The powerful sword sect was actually not the overlord of the great thousand world. There were 9 other forces that were on par with the sword sect that ruled the great thousand world together. Wu Kefeng simply couldn't imagine how powerful the great thousand world was. No matter how ignorant Wu Kefeng was, he completely understood that the great thousand world was far more powerful than the flaming wind world. Just one sect was enough to suppress the entire flaming wind world, not to mention the entire great thousand world. Wu Kefeng's face turned pale as he fell to the ground. He revealed a bitter smile and said, "What kind of place did this spatial tunnel bring the flaming wind world to?" From the beginning, his curiosity towards the great thousand world had turned into fear. Wu Kefeng didn't dare to imagine that if the great thousand world wanted to attack the flaming wind world, the flaming wind world would be destroyed without any resistance. Wu Kefeng's side was quite frightened, while Xiao Chen was surrounded by Cang Xing and the others who were constantly persuading him. Xiao Chen had already made up his mind to personally make a trip to the flaming wind world. However, Cang Xing and the others were firmly against it. The reason was very simple. Xiao Chen was the sect leader of the sword sect. How could he take the risk? Now that the situation in the flaming wind world was unknown, wouldn't it be too casual for Xiao Chen to personally go to the flaming wind world? Moreover, as the sect leader of the sword sect, Xiao Chen should be overseeing the sword sect. Xiao Chen didn't refute Cang Xing and the others' objections because what they said made sense. However, Xiao Chen wasn't the kind of person who would go into seclusion for 100 years. During this period of time in the sword sect, Xiao Chen was almost bored to death. Such a rare opportunity naturally made Xiao Chen restless. It was obviously impossible for them to not let him go. However, this time, Cang Xing and the others' attitudes were very firm, leaving Xiao Chen with no other choice. In the end, he could only agree on the surface to calm them down. After successfully escaping from the pursuit of Cang Xing and the others and returning to the cave residence, Xiao Chen revealed a faint smile and said, "Humph, if you don't let me go, I'll go secretly myself." Unable to dissuade Cang Xing and the others, Xiao Chen could only agree on the surface. However, with Xiao Chen's character, it was obviously impossible for him to give up so easily. Since he couldn't do it openly, he could only do it secretly. By secretly going to the flaming wind world, he could already confirm that there were no emperors in the flaming wind world. With his cultivation, Xiao Chen wasn't worried about any danger at all. Even if there were, Xiao Chen still had a lot of magic treasures on him, so there wouldn't be any problem. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen began to secretly prepare. Since he couldn't go to the flaming wind world openly, he obviously couldn't bring Wu Kefeng and the others with him. Forget it, he would just take it as a scout and act as a vanguard. Xiao Chen was preparing to go to the flaming wind world, but this kind of thing obviously couldn't be hidden from Qin Shuru and the other girls. After learning that Xiao Chen planned to go to the flaming wind world, Gu Lingyao and Hong Xiu immediately wanted to go with him. At first, Xiao Chen firmly refused, but he couldn't stand the girls' pestering and threats, so Xiao Chen had no choice but to agree. "Husband, I don't care. If you don't bring me, I'll go tell Cang Xing and the others that you're secretly going to the flaming wind world," Gu Lingyao and Hong Xiu said firmly. The two girls didn't listen to reason. In the end, even Qin Shuru, Fairy of 100 Flowers, and Tian Yu expressed that they wanted to go with Xiao Chen to the Flaming Wind world. Under the girls' insistence, Xiao Chen had no choice but to agree to go with them. Of course, the two boys, Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao, also went with him. It just so happened that these two boys were at their naughtiest. When they heard that they could go with their parents to play, they were so excited that they couldn't sleep for the whole night. Originally, Xiao Chen thought that this matter was settled. However, to his surprise, another accident happened. That night, Xiao Chen received messages from Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao. Both of them invited Xiao Chen to go to the Flaming Wind world. After receiving the messages from the two, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the cattail hassock in his room and smiled helplessly. Are we going on a trip together? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2271. Originally, going to the Flame Wind world this time was just a small matter, but who would have thought that so many problems would arise? First, Song Xing and the others strongly disagreed with him going to the Flame Wind world. Then, Qin Shuru and the other girls coaxed him. Now, it was Dao Ju and Xiao Zhao's turn. Xiao Chen felt extremely helpless. Not wanting to cause any more trouble, Xiao Chen sent a message to Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao, telling them that Song Xing and the others disagreed with him going to the Flame Wind world personally. However, what Xiao Chen did not expect was that Dao Ju was like a roundworm in his stomach. He had guessed what Xiao Chen was thinking at the first moment. Hee, brother Xiao Chen, don't tell me you want to secretly go to the Flame Wind world? If that's the case, bring me along. Soon, Dao Ju's reply came. Regarding this, Xiao Chen was even more shocked that Dao Ju could guess it. However, thinking about it, it was actually not difficult to guess. With his character, he would definitely not give up so easily. Since that was the case, there was no other way other than secretly going there. For one night, Xiao Chen, Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao talked for a long time, but the two of them insisted on going to the Flame Wind world, no matter what. However, in the end, Xiao Chen directly smashed the pot that had nothing to lose. Since the two of them wanted to go, then let them go together. After all, Dao Ju and Xiao Zhao's strength was not weaker than his, and they were not a burden. With the two of them, if anything happened, they could take care of each other. After agreeing on a time, Xiao Chen sank into cultivation. After that, he stayed in the sword sect for 3 days. When Song Xing and the others saw that Xiao Chen did not do anything strange, they gradually relaxed. They were also afraid that Xiao Chen would secretly run to the Flaming Wind realm. Therefore, over the past few days, Song Xing and the others seemed to be doing it on purpose. They would come to the cave residence to look for him every day. Moreover, they would take turns to come several times a day. Xiao Chen was also troubled by this. Fortunately, he had expected this and pushed back the time slightly. This dispelled the doubts of Song Xing and the others. Seeing that Song Xing and the others were relieved, on the third night, Xiao Chen brought Qin Shuru and the other girls along with little Xiao Yao and little Xiao Luo and left Sword's Gate under the cover of the night. They did not use the Sword Sect's teleportation array. Xiao Chen and his family directly went to Western Sword City and used the teleportation array to travel to the Western Liang Plains. On the way, they were not discovered by anyone from the Sword Sect and successfully arrived at the Western Liang Plains. According to the agreed time and place, Xiao Chen and his family met up with Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao in the Western Liang Plains. Xiao Xiao came alone, while Dao Ju brought a woman. As for this woman, Xiao Chen had heard that her name was Ying Luoxian. She was Dao Ju's new wife. Her appearance was indeed very beautiful. It could even be said that she was comparable to Qin Shuru and the others. However, Xiao Chen did not think too much about it. At Xiao Chen's current position, the temptation of beauty was basically no longer attractive. When everyone gathered, Dao Ju revealed a strange smile and said, "Haha, this time, the three of us sect leaders have joined forces to explore the Flaming Wind boundary. In the future, when news of this spreads, it will probably be interesting." Interesting? Why don't you think about it? After the three of us leave, the entire Great Thousand World will probably be in chaos. Hearing this, Xiao Xiao rolled her eyes at Dao Ju. Dao Ju was the kind of person who liked to watch a good show. He wanted the world to be in chaos. Xiao Chun, Dao Ju, and Xiao Xiao were not simple people. It could be said that their every move was enough to affect the entire Great Thousand World. However, this time, the three of them were like children who had not grown up and secretly entered the Flaming Wind boundary. If this was known by the world, who knew how chaotic it would be? Putting everything else aside, if the Saber Sect, Sword Sect, and Moon Palace could not find their sect leaders, what kind of situation would it be? Just thinking about it was terrifying. However, Dao Ju did not care about this at all. He smiled indifferently and said, "Haha, don't worry. I have already left a letter for the people in the sect. They won't be worried." Dao Ju said that he had left a letter, but Xiao Xiao did not believe him at all. However, in reality, Dao Ju had indeed left a letter. Unfortunately, there was no difference between leaving a letter and not leaving one. "I have something to do outside. Don't worry." This was the letter that Dao Ju had left. It was a simple sentence. Xiao Xiao wondered what the deputy sect leaders of the Saber sect would think if they saw this letter. Seeing that Xiao Xiao and Dao Ju were teasing each other, Xiao Qin said snappily, "I say, are we still going or not? If we don't leave now, the sky will be bright." The two of them chatted nonstop as soon as they met. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Dao Ju laughed loudly and said, "Let's go, haha." With that, the group walked straight into the depths of the western Liang Plains. Ing Luoxian also took the initiative to get close to Qin Shuru and the other girls. After all, there were more things to talk about between women. Moreover, they had the same status, so there were many common topics to talk about. The group quickly arrived at the spatial passage to the Flaming Wind boundary. At this point, Xiao Qin looked at Dao Ju and said, "Dao Ju, where is the spaceship?" The three of them had already discussed that Dao Ju would prepare the spaceship. After all, with Xiao Chen's situation, it would not be easy to prepare a spaceship. If Tsang Xing and the others found out, it would be troublesome. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Dao Ju smiled and then took out a palm-sized spaceship from her storage ring. She threw it casually. In an instant, the spaceship enlarged in the air and became a large spaceship that was 100 meters long. "You even brought a spatial spirit ship?" Looking at the spaceship in front of them, no, it should not be called a spaceship, but a spatial spirit ship, Xiao Chun looked helpless. This spatial spirit ship was an existence that was more advanced than a spaceship. It could be said that it was an upgraded version of a spaceship. It was engraved with complex spatial talisman arrays, so it could shrink, enlarge, or shrink at will. It could even be stored in a storage ring for easy carrying. Moreover, the speed of this spatial spirit ship was several times faster than a spaceship. Even the best spaceship was not as fast as a third of the spatial spirit ship. However, although the spatial spirit ship was very powerful, it was a pity that it was too expensive to build. Anyway, the Sword Sect did not have a spatial spirit ship. There was one in the past, but because of the decline of the Sword Sect, the spatial spirit ship had been damaged in the battle. As for the Saber Sect, according to Xiao Chen, it seemed that they only had one spatial spirit ship. Moreover, the Saber Sect had spent countless financial and material resources to build it. He did not expect that Dao Ju would bring a spatial spirit ship. This was a little too crazy. Looking at Dao Ju with a strange gaze, Xiao Chen joked, "You brought a spatial spirit ship. Aren't you afraid that your old man will beat you?" Chapter 2272. The value of the spatial spirit boat was self-evident. It was not difficult to tell just by looking at its high cost. Dao Ju had actually brought the spatial spirit boat out. If his father, Dao Xiong, knew about this, he would probably be beaten up. The value of the spatial spirit boat was self-evident. It was not difficult to tell just by looking at its high cost. Dao Ju had actually brought the spatial spirit boat out. If his father, Dao Xiong, knew about this, he would probably be beaten up. However, in front of Xiao Qin, Dao Ju obviously would not admit this. He pretended to be forthright and said, "Hey, what's a spatial spirit boat? Don't worry, I can handle it. Get on the boat." With that, Dao Ju took the lead and boarded the spatial spirit boat. He followed closely behind Xiao Qin. Xiao Xiao curled her lips and said, "I'd be a fool if I believed you." The group quickly boarded the spatial spirit boat. Under the control of Dao Ju, the spatial spirit boat slowly rose into the sky. Then, it directly entered the void and disappeared. The reason why the spatial spirit boat was so expensive was because it could travel through space. It was like a teleportation array. Every time the spatial spirit boat moved, it was a teleportation array. In this way, its speed was naturally much faster than a starship. With the terrifying power of the spatial spirit boat, Xiao Chen's group entered the spatial passage of the Flame Wind Realm without being discovered. The reason why they were not discovered was because the Sword Sect had arranged for experts to guard outside the spatial passage. However, with the spatial spirit boat, these experts of the Sword Sect did not discover that Xiao Chen's group had safely entered the spatial passage under their noses. No one knew how long it would take to reach the Flame Wind Realm from the spatial passage. However, Xiao Chen's group was not in a hurry. They drank wine and chatted leisurely. Very quickly, the night passed. It was a peaceful night in the Great Thousand World, just like any other night. However, as the sky gradually brightened, the Swords Gate, Saber Sect, and Moon Palace all realized that their sect masters were missing. In the Moon Palace, two beautiful women came to Xiao Zhao's cave residence and searched around. They also asked Xiao Zhao's maidservants but found nothing. However, Xiao Xiao was indeed dead. This caused the two beautiful ladies to be extremely anxious. Both of them were vice palace masters of the Moon Palace. Originally, they had specially come to discuss matters with Xiao Xiao. Who would have thought that Xiao Xiao would not be around? Search? Where did the sect leader go? Search carefully, one of them said with an unsightly expression. After she finished speaking, she looked at the maids in charge of serving Xiao Xiao and said angrily, "You don't even know that the palace master isn't here. What's the use of keeping you?" As she spoke, she prepared to punish the maidservants. Fortunately, another beautiful woman stopped her in time. "That's enough. With palace master's strength, if she wanted to leave, how would they know? Xiao Xiao was already End Realm, and if she wanted to hide it from them, they wouldn't be able to do anything. This was why it was a little too much to blame them. However, because of Xiao Zhao's sudden disappearance, everyone was extremely nervous. Thus, they couldn't help but vent their anger on the maidservant. The people of the Moon Palace quickly started to search for traces of Xiao Xiao. It was the same for the Saber Sect. However, compared to the Moon Palace, the Saber Sect was even more shocked. It could even be said that they were helpless. This was because the vice sect masters of the Saber Sect realized that the spatial spirit boat was gone. In the main hall of the Saber Sect, the vice sect masters gathered together. All of them had helpless expressions. One of them even said with a bitter smile, "The sect leader's playful personality is back." Even the spatial spirit boat was taken away by him. Combined with Dao Ju's usual behavior, the vice sect masters of the Saber Sect quickly guessed that Dao Ju probably ran off to play somewhere by himself. After all, during these years, as the sect leader of the Saber Sect, Dao Ju had restrained himself a lot. However, everyone knew that this wasn't Dao Ju's true personality. If they didn't have the chance, Dao Ju's old habits would act up again. This time, he even took away the spatial spirit boat. They knew the importance of the spatial spirit boat, which was why the vice sect masters of the Saber Sect were so worried. Of course, they were also worried about Dao Ju's safety. Although Dao Ju was already End Realm and had a certain amount of ability to protect himself, and it could even be said that if an emperor didn't act, no one would be able to kill Dao Ju. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. Furthermore, Dao Ju was the sect leader of the Saber sect. If anything happened to him, one could imagine the impact on the Saber sect. After some discussion, in the end, the vice-sect masters of the Saber sect decided to tell Dao Xiong about this matter. Sigh, let's let the old ancestor decide. But we still have to send people to find the sect leader's whereabouts. Don't worry, I have already sent the order. I believe there will be news soon. The vice-sect master of the Saber sect immediately responded. At the same time, he quickly told Dao Xiong about this matter. Like the Saber sect and the Moon Palace, the Sword sect also discovered that Xiao Chun and his family had disappeared. Even Qin Shuru and the other girls had disappeared. Song Xing and the others immediately guessed that Xiao Chun must have secretly gone to the Flame Wind world. Combined with Xiao Chen's performance a few days ago, they originally thought that Xiao Chun had already given up on this idea. However, who would have thought that Xiao Chun would actually do such a thing and leave without a word? This made Song Xing and the others feel helpless and worried. After all, the situation in the Flame Wind world was unknown. Quick, ask the sect leader if he appeared at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. Immediately, Song Xing ordered to ask the experts of the Sword sect, who were in charge of guarding the entrance of the spatial tunnel, if they had seen Xiao Chun. Soon, the news came back. No one had seen Xiao Chun. For the entire night, no one had approached the entrance of the spatial tunnel. Song Xing and the others found it strange that Xiao Chun did not appear at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. Could it be that the sect leader did not go to the Flame Wind world? Sitting together, Lin Qing asked doubtfully. Hearing this, Song Xing shook his head and denied with certainty. Impossible, the sect leader must have gone to the Flame Wind world. He must have used some method to not be discovered. Song Xing was sure that Xiao Chun must have gone to the Flame Wind world. Just as he finished speaking, a voice transmission talisman entered his mind. Seeing the message on the voice transmission talisman, the bitterness on Song Xing's face intensified. He then looked at Lin Qing and the others and said, "The sect leader has indeed gone to the Flame Wind world. Are you so sure?" Hearing this, Lin Qing and the others asked in disbelief. The people in charge of guarding the spatial tunnel had never seen Xiao Chun. However, Song Xing was so sure that Xiao Chun had gone to the Flame Wind world. There must be a reason behind this. Song Xing did not hide this and said helplessly, "The sect leader of the Saber sect, Dao Ju, and his wife are also missing." Before they left, Dao Ju took the spatial spirit boat of the Saber sect. The voice transmission talisman from before was sent to Song Xing by a vice-sect leader of the Saber sect. The letter clearly stated this point. Therefore, Song Xing was sure that Xiao Chun must have used the spatial spirit boat to hide from everyone and enter the spatial tunnel to the Flame Wind world. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2273. Dao Ju, Xiao Xiao, and Xiao Chun had disappeared at the same time. Furthermore, Dao Ju had taken away the spatial spirit boat of the Saber sect. Very quickly, Song Xing and the other vice-sect leaders understood what had happened. Hearing Song Xing's words, the other people's expressions changed slightly. They did not expect that even Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao had disappeared at the same time. However, they soon felt helpless again. Xiao Chun and the other two's actions had indeed caused them to feel helpless. After all, the three's identities were not simple. Then what do we do now? Nangong Guan asked with a bitter smile on her face. Hearing Nangong Guan's words, Song Xing said, "There is nothing we can do now. Let's wait for the people from the Saber sect and Moon Palace to arrive before entering the Flame Wind realm to welcome the sect leaders." Xiao Chun and the other twos should have already entered the Flame Wind realm. Furthermore, with the spatial spirit boat, Song Xing and the others would not be able to chase after them even if they wanted to. The spatial spirit boat was very fast. Hearing Tsang Xing's words, the others could only nod helplessly in agreement. Actually, with the combat strength of Xiao Chun and the other twos, there should not be any problems in the Flame Wind realm. At the very least, they should be able to protect themselves. Moreover, as sect leaders, Xiao Chun and the other twos had many life-saving trump cards. Since the three's playful, they could only indulge themselves this time. When the people from the Saber Sect and Moon Palace arrived, they would go to the Flame Wind realm together to receive Xiao Chun and the other twos. Unaware of what had happened in the Great Thousand World, Xiao Chun and the other twos were still in the spatial tunnel. However, with the spatial spirit boat, the group's speed was very fast. Originally, it would have taken several days to pass through the spatial tunnel. However, with the help of the spatial spirit boat, Xiao Chun and the others took less than a day to successfully pass through the spatial tunnel and arrive at the Flame Wind realm. Standing on the deck and passing through the spatial tunnel, Xiao Chun looked at the unfamiliar Flame Wind world with a faint smile on his face. It had been a long time since he was so free. As the sect master of the Sword Sect, Xiao Chun's status not only gave him endless power, but it also gave Xiao Chun a lot of restrictions. At the very least, he couldn't act as freely as before. This trip to the Flame Wind realm could be considered as Xiao Chun's indulgence. Dao Ju and Dao Ju stood beside Xiao Chun. Facing this unfamiliar fiery wind realm, Dao Ju smiled and said, "Where are we going now?" This was the first time they had come to the Flame Wind realm, so they were completely unaware of the situation here. However, after hearing Dao Ju's words, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "The person leading the way is already here." As he spoke, several cultivators in black martial attire slowly appeared in front of them. The person leading them was a middle-aged man with a cultivation at the great perfection of the Dao realm. These people should have been guarding the entrance of the spatial tunnel. With the appearance of these people, Xiao Chun, Dao Ju, and Xiao Xiao all smiled. The three of them didn't know the situation in the Flame Wind realm. It would be a good choice to have a guide at this time. Not knowing what the three of them were thinking, the person leading the Flame Wind realm cultivators shouted as soon as they appeared, "Who are you?" Hearing this, Xiao Chun didn't answer and asked instead, "Shouldn't you report your own identity before asking for someone else's identity?" With a glance, Xiao Chun recognized the identity of these people. Other than the person leading them, who had a cultivation at the Dao realm, the others were all in the comprehension realm. Such cultivation was not much of a threat to Xiao Chun and the others, so Xiao Chun didn't take them seriously at all. Seeing Xiao Chun's smile, the middle-aged man's face darkened and he said, "You came from the other side of the spatial tunnel? Just nice, come with us." The Flame Wind realm naturally paid close attention to the Great Thousand World on the other side of the spatial tunnel. Seeing that Xiao Chun and the others came from the Great Thousand World, the middle-aged man planned to capture Xiao Chun and the others and force them to tell him some things about the Great Thousand World. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Dao Ju scolded in annoyance, "Who the hell are you? Come over here if you know what's good for you. Answer whatever I ask you. Otherwise, I'll kill you today." As the sect master of the Saber Sect, Dao Ju was famous for being a hedonistic young master since he was young. At this time, facing a few cultivators from the Flame Wind realm, he naturally wouldn't be polite. He couldn't see the cultivation realms of Xiao Chun and the others at all. After being scolded by Dao Ju, the middle-aged man's face darkened and he shouted angrily, "Boy, you're courting death." It was obvious that Xiao Chun and the others were young. At such a young age, how high could their cultivation be? The middle-aged man thought that he could defeat Xiao Chun and the others. As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged man said to the people beside him, "Go, capture them. I want them alive." He planned to capture Xiao Chun and the others and then ask them about other things. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, the people beside him respectfully acknowledged and then prepared to attack. Seeing this, Dao Ju smiled and said, "Xiao Chun, Xiao Xiao, don't move. I'll take care of these small fries." Dao Ju was very excited to fight. However, when he heard his words, the middle-aged man snorted coldly, "Humph, you're courting death." He didn't know how terrifying Dao Ju was. At this time, Dao Ju was already raring to go. Seeing this, Luo said softly, "Be careful. Don't worry, these small fries can't do anything to me," Dao Ju said confidently. As soon as he said this, he took the initiative to attack the middle-aged man and the others. With a step, he disappeared from the spot. At the same time, an end-realm aura surged from Dao Ju's body. Feeling the aura from Dao Ju's body, the middle-aged man's expression changed and he said in disbelief, "End-realm expert you. How is that possible?" Looking at Dao Ju's age, the middle-aged man didn't think that his cultivation would be that high. However, the aura from Dao Ju's body showed that he had reached the end realm. How was it possible for him to reach the end realm at such an age? One must know that in the flame wind world, every end realm expert had cultivated for countless years. Dao Ju was just too young. Even if he started cultivating when he was in his mother's womb, he couldn't have reached the end realm at such an age. Dao Ju's cultivation completely exceeded the middle-aged man's expectations. After confirming that Dao Ju was an end realm expert, the middle-aged man's first reaction was to flee. What a joke, facing an end realm expert, they weren't enough. It seemed like he could only ask the old ancestor to help. However, Dao Ju obviously didn't give the middle-aged man a chance to attack. Seeing that the middle-aged man was about to flee, Dao Ju laughed coldly and slapped out, sealing off the middle-aged man's path of retreat. "Did I allow you to leave? Don't you think it's too late to run now?" Dao Ju laughed coldly. Chapter 2274. Dao Ju was an end-realm expert, and his combat strength was far from what normal end-realm experts could compare to. Therefore, just a casual slap caused the middle-aged man's expression to change. He felt despair from Dao Ju's slap. Dao Ju was an end-realm expert, and his combat strength was far from what normal end-realm experts could compare to. Therefore, just a casual slap caused the middle-aged man's expression to change. He felt despair from Dao Ju's slap. He felt despair from not being able to resist at all. The middle-aged man even had an illusion that Dao Ju's strength had surpassed his old ancestors. One must know that the old ancestor was also an end-realm expert, but now, facing Dao Ju, the middle-aged man actually believed that Dao Ju was stronger than his old ancestor. The moment this thought appeared, the middle-aged man shook his head in disbelief. He braced himself and said solemnly, "Impossible, how can a little kid compare to the old ancestor?" As he said that, the middle-aged man tried his best to resist. However, the result was obvious. Xiao Chun and Xiao Xiao didn't attack, and the middle-aged man and the others were quickly captured by Dao Ju. Including the middle-aged man, there was a total of 5 people, and none of them were able to escape. Dao Ju casually threw the 5 of them on the deck and said disinterestedly, "Too weak, boring." These people's combat strength was too weak in Dao Ju's eyes, and they were dealt with in 2 or 3 moves. Hearing this, Xiao Chun smiled and didn't say anything. He walked in front of the middle-aged man and asked calmly, "Which power of the Flame Wind world are you from?" Xiao Chun didn't know anything about the Flame Wind world, so he could only ask the middle-aged man. However, the middle-aged man snorted coldly and turned his head away, not saying anything. Seeing the middle-aged man's attitude, Xiao Chun did not get angry. Instead, the smile on his face gradually turned evil. "Not bad, you have a backbone. However, you should know that even if you don't tell me, I still have a way to obtain the answer I want. For example, I can search your soul. However, in this way, I can't guarantee that your soul won't be damaged. Perhaps your soul will collapse and become a walking corpse." When he heard Xiao Chen's words, the middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. He had naturally heard of soul-searching techniques, and he did not doubt that Xiao Chen possessed such an ability. Although the middle-aged man couldn't see through Xiao Chen, Dao Ju was a true End Realm expert. With Dao Ju's cultivation, it was just too easy for him to search his soul. And the result might be just as Xiao Chen said. When the time came, his soul would scatter, and he would become a walking corpse. One had to know that a soul-searching technique could cause great damage to the soul. If one was careful, it might be fine. However, if one was too rough, it would definitely cause great damage to the soul. After a moment of silence, the middle-aged man finally gritted his teeth and said, "I'm from the Wu family." Wu family? When he heard this, the smile on Xiao Chen's face became even wider. He remembered that Wu Kefeng seemed to be from the Wu family. He didn't expect to meet someone from the Wu family as soon as he entered the Flame Wind world. Xiao Chen had heard a little about the Wu family from Wu Kefeng. It was said that they were one of the 4 great powers of the Flame Wind world. However, at that time, Xiao Chen didn't have the mood to ask too much, so he only heard a rough idea. Coincidentally, he met another person from the Wu family. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I might need you to be my guide for a period of time. I think you won't refuse, right?" He knew nothing about the Flame Wind world, so it was naturally best to have a guide. Hearing this, the middle-aged man didn't refuse. Or rather, he didn't have the right to refuse. He tacitly agreed. When he saw this, Xiao Chen asked the middle-aged man to lead the way and lead him into the Flame Wind world. As they hurried along, Xiao Chen's group asked the middle-aged man many questions about the Flame Wind world. The middle-aged man didn't refuse and answered them one by one. Actually, this was because Xiao Chen's group only asked some very ordinary questions and didn't touch on the Wu family's secret. Moreover, the middle-aged man wouldn't be affected even if he told them. Because of this, the middle-aged man naturally didn't resist so much. According to the middle-aged man, he was called Wu Xing. He was a disciple of the Wu family's branch family. Because he had a cultivation at the Perfection Dao realm, he was a moderately sized deacon in the Wu family. He was responsible for helping the Wu family deal with various matters. This time, Wu Xing had received orders from the patriarch to lead people to guard the spatial passageway. However, he encountered Xiao Chen's group first and was instead captured alive. From Wu Xing's words, Xiao Chen and the rest knew that the Flame Wind world was indeed much stronger than an ordinary small thousand world. It was also larger in area and was about the same size as the Sword Mansion. It was equivalent to 1/10 of the Great Thousand World. A small thousand world with such an area was already very big. It should be known that the 8 Wastelands world was only equivalent to a prefecture in the Great Thousand World. From this, one could see how extraordinary the Flame Wind world was. Within the Flame Wind world, there were a total of 4 continents. On each continent, there was an overlord. These 4 superpowers controlled the entire Flame Wind world. As for the Wu family, as one of the 4 superpowers, they controlled the Tianwu continent. The Tianwu continent was also the continent closest to the spatial passageway. Therefore, the Wu family made their choice so quickly. At the same time, from Wu Xing, Xiao Chen also knew that Wu Kefeng and the rest had received orders from the Wu family to explore the Great Thousand World. However, for some reason, they suddenly lost contact with Wu Kefeng and the rest. From Wu Xing, Xiao Chen learned a lot about the Flame Wind world. However, Xiao Chen did not care much about the various superpowers in the Flame Wind world. What really interested Xiao Chen was the Wu family and the other 3 superpowers. After asking a few questions, Xiao Chen personally poured a cup of tea for Wu Xing and did not make things difficult for him. In fact, as long as Wu Xing cooperated, Xiao Chen did not have any enmity towards him. Xiao Chen slowly pushed the teacup in front of Wu Xing and said indifferently, "Since you are the deacon of the Wu family, you should know a lot about the Wu family, right?" Xiao Chen already knew a lot about the Flame Wind world. Next, it was time to learn more about the Wu family. However, after hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wu Xing's face instantly darkened. He then said firmly, "Don't worry about the Wu family. I won't say anything, and I will not betray the family. Wu Xing was very loyal to the Wu family. Wu Xing was very loyal to the Wu family. Seeing this, Xiao Chen could not help but laugh. You're thinking too much. I just want to ask you some ordinary questions. I'm not interested in the secrets of the Wu family, so you can rest assured. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wu Xing looked deeply at him. After communicating with Xiao Chen for so long, Wu Xing could tell that Xiao Chen seemed to be the leader of this group. The Dao Ju seemed to follow Xiao Chen's lead. Chapter 2275. Wu Xing naturally didn't know that Dao Ju didn't care about these things at all. His mind was filled with thoughts of the Tianwu continent, and he was curious about what the flame wind world was like. Wu Xing naturally didn't know that Dao Ju didn't care about these things at all. His mind was filled with thoughts of the Tianwu continent, and he was curious about what the flame wind world was like. In terms of willfulness, Dao Ju was obviously much more willful than Xiao Chen and Xiao Xiao. This fellow was making it too difficult for him to be the sect master. However, even if he didn't know these things, he had to lower his head under someone else's roof. Wu Xing naturally understood this logic, so when he heard Xiao Chen's words, Wu Xing said solemnly, "If it doesn't involve the Wu family's secrets, I can answer you." "That's right. Then let's talk about the simplest question. Who is the strongest person in the Wu family? How many End Realm experts are there?" Xiao Chen asked with a smile. This question wasn't considered a secret. The number of End Realm experts in the Wu family wasn't a secret in the Flame Wind world, so when he heard Xiao Chen's words, Wu Xing said straightforwardly, "The 8 Wu family ancestors are all End Realm experts, but I don't know who is stronger or weaker. After all, with my level, I rarely come into contact with them." Wu Xing didn't lie to Xiao Chen. The 8 ancestors of the Wu family basically lived in seclusion. Although Wu Xing was a deacon of the Wu family, he rarely saw them. Next, Xiao Chen asked some other questions about the Wu family, and Wu Xing was very straightforward. As long as it didn't involve the Wu family's secrets, he would answer all of them. Just like that, everyone seemed to be chatting casually as they rushed towards the Tianwu continent. In a short 4 hours, they arrived at the Tianwu continent. Because they had been walking in the cabin, Wu Xing and the others naturally didn't experience the speed of the space spirit boat. However, when Dao Ju said that they had arrived at the Tianwu continent, Wu Xing's first reaction was that it was impossible. Impossible? It's only been 4 hours. How could he have possibly arrived at the Tianwu continent? Wu Xing naturally knew how far the heavenly Wu continent was from the spatial passageway. Not to mention 4 hours, even 2 days wouldn't be enough. He couldn't believe that they had already reached the Tianwu continent. However, when Wu Xing followed Xiao Chen's group to the deck and saw the Tianwu continent getting closer and closer, Wu Xing was completely stunned. To reach the Tianwu continent from the spatial passageway in 4 hours, what kind of speed was this? For a moment, Wu Xing was extremely curious about the spatial spirit ship he was riding on. He thought to himself, is there really such a fast starship in this world? Wu Xing naturally didn't know what a spatial spirit ship was, so he naturally thought that it was just a starship. The more he interacted with Xiao Chen and the others, the more Wu Xing realized that he couldn't see through Xiao Chen and the others at all. At the same time, Wu Xing was also very interested in the Great Thousand World on the other side of the spatial passageway. He really wanted to know what kind of place it was. The spatial spirit boat slowly entered the Tianwu continent. At this time, Dao Ju looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Where are we going now?" "Let's go to the Wu clan first." Hearing this, Xiao Chen smiled and replied. Since they had already arrived at the Tianwu continent, they naturally had to make a trip to the Wu clan. Hearing this, Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao didn't say anything. However, Wu Xing was stunned and said in disbelief, "You still want to go to the Wu clan? Crazy, simply crazy. In Wu Xing's opinion, it was fine that Xiao Chen and the others had captured him alive, but now they actually wanted to take the initiative to go to the Wu clan. They were obviously courting death. Although the Wu clan and Xiao Chen didn't have any enmity, Wu Xing believed that the Wu clan would definitely be very willing to ask Xiao Chen and the others about the Great Thousand World, just like how Xiao Chen had captured him to ask about the Flaming Wind boundary. Therefore, if Xiao Chen went to the Wu clan, there would only be one result. He would be captured alive by the Wu clan or even imprisoned. Along the way, they chatted a lot, and Xiao Chen's attitude towards Wu Xing was also very gentle and didn't make things difficult for him. Therefore, from the bottom of his heart, Wu Xing didn't want Xiao Chen to go to the Wu clan. After hesitating for a while, Wu Xing finally said, "Do you know what it means to go to the Wu clan? They won't let you leave." Wu Xing wanted to tell Xiao Chen not to court death. He even wanted to persuade Xiao Chen to leave the Tianwu continent as soon as possible and leave the Flaming Wind boundary. However, when he heard Wu Xing's words, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "What, are you afraid that the Wu clan will deal with me? Don't worry, a mere Wu clan doesn't have that ability." It seemed that Xiao Chen didn't take the Wu clan seriously at all. Seeing this, Wu Xing said unhappily, "The Wu clan isn't as simple as you think. To be able to become one of the four great powers of the Flaming Wind boundary, the Wu clan's foundation is very deep. Even I know very little about it. Aren't you walking into a trap by going to the Wu clan? The Wu family is also very curious about your so-called Greater Thousand Realms." In Wu Xing's eyes, Xiao Chen walking into a trap by going to the Wu clan was a reckless act. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to explain. He just said calmly, "You just need to bring us there. You don't have to worry about anything else." The Wu clan had 8 End Realm experts. However, in Xiao Chen's eyes, this wasn't enough. It wasn't that Xiao Chen was arrogant, but that Xiao Chen really had such ability. After interacting with the Flaming Wind boundary cultivators, Xiao Chen had long realized that the combat strength of the Flaming Wind boundary cultivators was far inferior to those of the Great Thousand World. This was without a doubt. Xiao Chen, Dao Ju, and Xiao Xiao were all geniuses of the Great Thousand World. 3 against 8 was no problem at all. Seeing that Xiao Chen had made up his mind, Wu Xing couldn't say anything more. He just looked deeply at Xiao Chen and pointed in the direction of the Wu clan. Xiao Chen was going to the Flaming Wind boundary to understand this new small world. As such, interacting with the local powers of this world was naturally the best choice. As the ruler of the Tianwu continent and one of the 4 major powers of the Flaming Wind boundary, the Wu clan was obviously the first choice. As for how the Wu clan would treat him, Xiao Chen didn't care. If the Wu clan was smart, they should know what to do. After all, Xiao Chen and the Wu clan didn't have any conflict of interest. Both sides just wanted to understand each other. Under Wu Xing's command, the spatial spirit boat directly headed towards the Wu clan. At the same time, in Tianwu City, where the Wu clan was located, a beautiful woman was sitting in a courtyard with a face full of despair. In front of her, a young man in luxurious clothes and 5 cultivators who looked like guards were looking at the beautiful woman mockingly. "I say, Auntie, what future do you have by following this trash Wu Xing? He's just a branch disciple. Even if he has the cultivation of the Tao realm great perfection, he's just a deacon. If you follow me, I guarantee that you'll have a better life than now." The young man's eyes flashed with a fiery light as he said with a smile. Chapter 2276. The young man was called Wu Lin and was the 3rd son of the current head of the Wu family, Wu Xiongquan. In the Wu family, he could be considered a true young master. From the day he was born, Wu Lin had status and power that others couldn't reach. As for the beautiful woman, she was called Lin Wan and was Wu Xing's wife. She was born normal, but she was extremely beautiful. Wu Lin had been eyeing Lin Wan for a long time. This time, He took advantage of the fact that Wu Xing had left the Tianwu continent and brought people to Lin Wan's door. He wanted to force Lin Wan to submit. Seeing Lin Wan's tear-stained face, a gentle smile appeared on Wu Lin's face. He bent down and personally wiped the tears from the corner of Lin Wan's eyes as he spoke softly. Lin Wan, you know how I feel about you. Someone like you, are you planning to follow that trash Wu Xing? You could have a better life and a higher status. I can give you all of that. Facing Wu Lin's carrot and stick, Lin Wan's expression finally changed. Noticing the change in Lin Wan, Wu Lin continued to strike while the iron was hot. After so many years, don't you understand how I feel about you? I haven't married yet because I have been waiting for you. If one had to talk about Wu Lin and Wu Xing, they could be considered uncle and nephew. However, because Wu Xing was a branch of the Wu family, the blood relationship between the two of them was almost non-existent. After all, they were separated by so many generations. However, in name, Lin Wan was still Wu Lin's aunt. However, as the nephew, Wu Lin actually had his eyes on his aunt. From the looks of it, Lin Wan also acted. In the face of supreme power and a high status, who in the world could reject it? After following Wu Xing for so many years, Lin Wan envied the direct descendants of the Wu family. This was because they had a higher status and better treatment than the branch families. However, Wu Xing was just a collateral disciple of the Wu clan. Even though he had reached the Dao realm perfection stage, he was still just a deacon of the Wu clan. He was neither high nor low. Confusion flashed across her eyes. Wu Lin said calmly, Lin Wan, trust me. I can make you happy and let you have a better life. Wu Xing is just a branch family disciple. Unless he can break through to the end realm, he won't be able to make a name for himself. Wu Lin's words weren't false. Unless Wu Xing broke through to the end realm, he would never be able to enter the core of the Wu family. Hearing Wu Lin's gentle voice and his deliberate seduction, Lin Wan had to admit that she was moved. However, Lin Wan still had many concerns in her heart. Her biggest concern was naturally Wu Xing. After all, she was Wu Xing's wife. If she got together with Wu Lin, what would the rest of the Wu family think of her? But I am Wu Xing's wife. Lin Wan's eyes no longer as resolute as before. Lin Wan's heart's heart. Hearing Lin Wan's words, Wu Lin was overjoyed. If Lin Wan said that, then there was a chance. Thinking about how he was going to get the aunt he had coveted for so long, Wu Lin was extremely excited. He had been coveting Lin Wan's beauty for a long time. Every time he saw Lin Wan, he couldn't help but feel a fire in his heart. Now, this beautiful rose was finally going to be in his hands. Gently caressing Lin Wan's face, Wu Lin said softly, Don't worry, I'm here. Wu Xing is just an ant. Wu Lin would take care of Wu Xing's matter. Without waiting for Lin Wan to reply, Wu Lin picked her up by the waist and strode into the room. Under the temptation of power and status, Lin Wan finally chose to betray him. Wu Xing still didn't know that his wife was sleeping with Wu Lin. After entering the Tianwu continent, Xiao Chen's group planned to go directly to the Wu clan. However, since it was the first time Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao were traveling so far away, they insisted on having fun on the Tianwu continent. Left with no choice, Xiao Chen could only be careless. Just like that, the group traveled to Tianwu City, where the Wu clan was located. As a result, they wasted a lot of time on the road. It took them half a month to reach Tianwu City. Looking at the city in front of them, Xiao Chen's group didn't feel anything special. Although Tianwu City was the most prosperous city on the Tianwu continent, there was still a big gap between it and the Great Thousand World. Tianwu City was different from ordinary cities. The people living in Tianwu City were mostly from the Wu clan. The branch families and direct family members lived in Tianwu City. Seeing that they were about to enter the city, Wu Xing said to Xiao Chen, Young Master Xiao, this is Tianwu City. After getting along for half a month, Wu Xing didn't have any hostility towards Xiao Chen's group. After all, as Xiao Chen said, They didn't have any enmity with the Flaming Wind Realm, the Wu clan, or Wu Xing. At most, they were on guard against each other. There was no need for them to be hostile. Moreover, during this period, Wu Xing also found that Xiao Chen's personality was very gentle. He was an easy person to get along with. Although he was talented and powerful, he didn't put on airs. This made Wu Xing have a good impression of Xiao Chen. Not only Wu Xing, but the 4 Wu clan disciples who followed Wu Xing were the same. When he heard Wu Xing's words, Xiao Chen nodded slightly. Then he smiled at Qin Shuru and the other girls. Let's go. We'll pay a visit to the Wu clan. When they heard Xiao Chen's words, Qin Shuru and the other girls smiled but didn't say anything. On the side, Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao didn't have any objections. In fact, if it weren't for the 2 brats, Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao, Dao Ju and Xiao Xiao would have already paid a visit to the Wu clan. The group strode into the city. Because Wu Xing was leading the way, no one stopped them. After entering the city, Wu Xing didn't directly take Xiao Chen to the Wu clan's mansion. Instead, he spoke to Xiao Chen in embarrassment. Young Master Xiao, there are many people in the Wu clan. However, only direct family members can live in the Wu clan's mansion. Branch family members like us can only live in Tianwu City. Young Master Xiao, can you wait for a moment and come home with me? I need to tell my wife that I'm safe. After being away for so long, Wu Xing was worried about Lin Wan. Regarding this, Xiao Chen didn't refuse and cheerfully nodded in agreement. After receiving Xiao Chen's agreement, Wu Xing was overjoyed. He immediately led the group into the mansion. The 4 Wu clan disciples beside him also teased, I say, big brother Wu Xing, do you miss sister-in-law that much? We just returned to Tianwu City, and you're already so impatient. Faced with the teasing of the 4 people, Wu Xing's face turned red. However, he didn't say anything. Soon, the group arrived at Wu Xing's house. It was a small courtyard. However, the moment he pushed open the courtyard door, the scene in front of him made Wu Xing completely stunned. This was because at this moment, his wife and Wu Lin were doing something indescribable in the courtyard. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2277. Wu Xing stood at the entrance of the courtyard. His face was filled with disbelief as he looked at everything that was happening in the courtyard. He saw Lin Wan and Wu Lin tangled together in ragged clothes. It was broad daylight, yet the 2 of them were actually doing such a thing in the courtyard. When Lin Wan heard the sound, she turned her head. When she saw Wu Xing standing at the door, she was stunned. Her face turned red as she lowered her head. She didn't dare to look Wu Xing in the eyes. After being together for so many years, Lin Wan admitted that Wu Xing was very good to her. He was almost obedient. Whatever she wanted, Wu Xing would do his best to satisfy her. The 2 of them were originally very loving. Who would have thought that Wu Xing would see such a scene? Brother Wu Xing, what's wrong? Why are you standing at the entrance? While Wu Xing and Lin Wan were stunned, the 4 Wu family disciples who followed Wu Xing, as well as Xiao Chen and the others, strode into the courtyard. One of the Wu family disciples, who was shouting, was just like Wu Xing. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he was stunned as if he was struck by lightning. He looked at Lin Wan and Wu Lin and said in disbelief, "Third young master, sister-in-law, you..." He never thought that Wu Lin and Lin Wan would be together. Xiao Chen, Qin Shuru, Dao Ju, and the others instantly understood what was going on. Qin Shuru and Flower Fairy hurriedly hugged Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao, not letting them see what was going on. Wu Xing was originally happy to return home. Who would have thought that he would encounter such a thing? Clenching his fists, Wu Xing's eyes were filled with anger. Any man would be unable to endure such a thing. Wu Xing glared at Wu Lin and said fiercely, "You're courting death." As he spoke, Wu Xing strode towards Wu Lin, looking as if he was about to kill Wu Lin. Seeing this, the 4 Wu family disciples beside him came back to their senses and hurriedly hugged Wu Xing tightly. Big brother Wu Xing, calm down. Scram. Today I will definitely kill this person. However, Wu Xing coldly shouted at Chu Feng. Big brother Wu Xing, he is the 3rd young master. If we kill him, what will you do? You can't kill him. Seeing that, the 4 of them refused to budge and held on to Wu Xing. Wu Lin's identity was extraordinary, and he was deeply loved by the patriarch. If Wu Xing killed Wu Lin, no matter what the reason was, Wu Xing would die without a doubt. The 4 of them were afraid of Wu Lin's identity. At this time, Wu Lin and Lin Wan recovered from their shock. The 2 of them put on their clothes. Lin Wan's face was red as she hid behind Wu Lin. Wu Lin looked at Wu Xing and said coldly, Wu Xing, why did you come back? Could it be that I dared to go against the patriarch's wishes? Wu Xing knew that Wu Xing had been sent to guard the spatial passageway. However, Wu Xing should not have returned so quickly. Wu Xing shouted coldly, If I don't come back, are you 2 going to give me a son? Saying that, Wu Xing gritted his teeth. Not only did he hate Wu Lin, but he also hated Lin Wan. He had put in so much effort for Lin Wan, but this woman actually betrayed him. Lin Wan had never seen Wu Xing this angry before. She was very afraid. However, Wu Lin was not afraid at all. He even revealed a mocking smile. Heh, so what? Since you're back, it's good. This young master will say it directly. Lin Wan is this young master's woman. From now on, she has nothing to do with you. If you know what's good for you, you should know what to do. At first, he was a little flustered. However, when he thought of Wu Xing, even if he was a branch family descendant, what could he do even if he saw this? From stealing, it had become an open robbery. Hearing Wu Lin's words, Lin Wan, who was hiding behind him, whispered, 3rd young master, don't worry. I said that I will be responsible for you. Naturally, I won't sit by and do nothing. Hearing Lin Wan, Wu Lin gently nodded and said. Seeing the 2 of them flirting with each other in front of him, Wu Xing's anger became more vigorous. However, at this moment, Wu Xing felt that Lin Wan was a stranger. His gaze went past Wu Lin and landed on Lin Wan. Wu Xing asked word by word, Lin Wan, why? Towards Lin Wan, Wu Xing could be said to have given his all. However, who would have thought that in the end, this would be the result? Facing Wu Xing's questioning, Lin Wan simply smashed the pot. She coldly said, Wu Xing, you still have the nerve to ask me why? I married you for so many years. What did I get in return? You're just a branch family descendant. You don't even have the qualifications to enter the Wu family's mansion. You ask me why? Since it had come to this, Lin Wan might as well say it out loud. Hearing Lin Wan's words, Wu Xing's face became gloomier. This was the woman who had helped him in difficult times for so many years. After so many years of acting together, in the end, she still couldn't resist the temptation of status and power. A bitter smile appeared on his face. Wu Xing didn't know what he was feeling right now. Was he angry? Or was he sad? Or was his heart dead? However, just as Wu Xing's expression was constantly changing, Dao Ju suddenly said, Hey, I say, you're a man. Isn't it just a woman? There's plenty of grass in the world. It's fine if you don't want this kind of woman. After all, she's already a withered flower. Can't you just find a new grass? You're a dignified man. Can't you live without her? Dao Ju's words were also filled with disdain. However, just as she finished speaking, Dao Ju was fiercely pinched by Ying Luo. In response, Dao Ju smiled embarrassedly. Hee wife, I'm naturally not talking about you. How can you be compared to a withered flower? Dao Ju had a despicable look on his face. However, Ying Luo coldly snorted in response, not giving him any face at all. Dao Ju's sudden words caused Wu Lin's gaze to fall on the group of people. However, when he saw Qin Shuru, Ying Luo, and Xiao Xiao, his eyes clearly flashed with amazement. "What beautiful women!" he secretly exclaimed in his heart. As the third young master of the Wu family, Wu Lin had seen all kinds of beauties. However, although Xiao Xiao and the others were wearing veils, with Wu Lin's eyesight, he could still see that they were absolutely one in a million beauties. They were even more beautiful than Lin Wan. His heart immediately burned with passion. However, on the surface, Wu Lin still put on a solemn expression and said, "Who are you?" Xiao Chun and the others definitely weren't from the Wu family. This was exactly what Wu Lin wanted. Since they weren't from the Wu family and had come to his territory, Wu Lin had already made up his mind to keep these women. As for Dao Ju and Xiao Chun, he would just directly kill them. Chapter 2278. As the third young master of Wu clan, Wu Lin had never been afraid of anyone in Tian Wu continent. He looked at Qin Shuru and the other ladies with a fiery gaze. As the third young master of Wu clan, Wu Lin had never been afraid of anyone in Tian Wu continent. He looked at Qin Shuru and the other ladies with a fiery gaze. Dao Ju frowned when he saw the change in Wu Lin's expression. As a man, Dao Ju naturally knew what Wu Lin was thinking. Moreover, Saber Ju and Wu Lin were the same. Both of them could be said to be hedonistic young masters. However, in terms of status, Wu Lin probably wasn't even worthy of carrying Saber Ju's shoes. This was because Saber Ju was the sect master of the Saber sect. Moreover, he was Saber Xiong's child. Dao Ju had also tried to flirt with women in the past. However, Wu Lin was simply courting death by flirting with his wife. Dao Ju was infuriated and was about to attack. However, someone was faster than Dao Ju. Xiao Chun struck out his palm and sent Wu Lin flying. Wu Lin's cultivation base was only at the immortal emperor realm. To Xiao Chun, he was extremely weak. A casual slap sent Wu Lin flying more than 10 meters away. There was a bright red palm print on his cheek. Wu Lin staggered to his feet. His eyes were as cold as ice, like a wild beast that was about to devour its prey. He glared at Xiao Chun and spoke viciously. "How dare you hit me? Fine, fine. I'd like to see how you're going to die today." As the third young master of Wu clan, Wu Lin had never been hit like this before. However, as soon as his voice faded, Xiao Chun struck out again, sending Wu Lin flying again. After 2 consecutive slaps, Wu Lin was dizzy. Of course, the anger in his heart continued to rise. However, this time, Xiao Chun did not give him a chance to speak, as he had already said, "That's right. If you don't want to die, then shut up. If you have any abilities, then go ahead and use them. However, if I hear you speak again, then die." Xiao Chun didn't kill Wu Lin immediately. On the contrary, he gave Wu Lin enough time to call for reinforcements. "Aren't you the third young master of the Wu clan? Alright, then call all the experts of the Wu clan over." Originally, Xiao Chun did not intend to become enemies with the Wu family. However, Wu Lin had acted recklessly, so he had no one to blame but himself. Of course, what Xiao Chun could not tolerate the most was that Wu Lin had dared to have improper thoughts about the girls from the Qin Shi. This had already crossed Xiao Chun's bottom line. Therefore, Wu Lin was already a dead man in Xiao Chun's eyes. The only reason he did not kill him was because he wanted him to summon the experts from the Wu family. Upon hearing Xiao Chun's words, Wu Lin forcefully swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He stared coldly at Xiao Chun. In the end, Wu Lin did not speak again. However, he still took out a voice transmission talisman. No one knew who he was contacting. Xiao Chun completely ignored Wu Lin's actions. He had already said that as long as Wu Lin didn't speak, he could use whatever he had to rely on. Upon seeing that Xiao Chun seemed to have the intention of letting Wu Lin off, Dao Ju asked curiously, "Brother Xiao Chun, is that all? He's just an ant. There's no point in killing him now," Xiao Chun said indifferently. Upon hearing this, Dao Ju seemed to understand Xiao Chen's meaning. He said with a sly smile, "Brother Xiao Chen, I didn't know that you had such a heavy taste." Upon hearing Dao Ju's words, Xiao Chen knew that he had misunderstood. However, he was too lazy to care. Dao Ju had indeed misunderstood. Xiao Chen wanted to personally kill Wu Lin in front of his father to humiliate the Wu family. Xiao Chen did not explain much to Dao Ju. At this time, Wu Xing came in front of Xiao Chen with an apologetic expression. "Young Master Xiao, I'm sorry. I didn't know that such a thing happened in the family. You should leave quickly. Wu Lin's identity is not simple." Wu Xing had a good impression of Xiao Chen and the others. He did not wish to implicate Xiao Chen and the others because of him. Moreover, Wu Lin's identity was indeed extraordinary. Xiao Chen had beaten him up. This matter would probably be difficult to resolve. Moreover, this was Tianwu City, the headquarters of the Wu family. No matter how strong Xiao Chen and the others were, it would be difficult for them to gain an advantage against the Wu family here. Wu Xing's words were sincere. However, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "If we leave, what will happen to you?" Upon hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wu Xing's face immediately darkened. Although he was a Dao realm great perfection expert and had a decent cultivation base in the Wu family, it was a pity that he did not have any status in the family because he was from a branch family. In Wu Xing's opinion, the best outcome for such a thing was to be expelled from the family. He might even be executed. After all, between him and Wu Lin, the higher-ups of the family would definitely choose Wu Lin. There was no doubt about that. A bitter smile gradually appeared on Wu Xing's face. He said self-deprecatingly, "What else can I do? Some things are destined at birth." Because Wu Xing wasn't a direct descendant of the Wu family, no matter how hard he tried, he would never be able to obtain the status of a direct descendant of the Wu family. Those who were at the same cultivation level as him, or those who were lower than him, had a far higher status than him. Wu Xing had long seen through this. Everything was predestined. Seeing Wu Xing's dispirited appearance, Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Wu Xing, I originally thought that you were an indomitable man. However, it seems that I was wrong." After saying that, Xiao Chen shook his head in disappointment. Wu Xing also lowered his head in disappointment and did not say a word. However, the 4 Wu family disciples at the side spoke up with some indignation. "Young Master Xiao, please don't say that. We all know whether Big Brother Wu Xing is a man or not. If Big Brother Wu Xing was a direct descendant of the Wu family, he would have already become an elder. You can't blame Big Brother Wu Xing for this." The 4 of them were very respectful to Wu Xing. At this moment, they were also speaking up for Wu Xing. However, Xiao Chen said in a deep voice, "Is that so? Since you're a man, why can't you let go of a woman? As a man, you should have great ambitions. If you can't even let go of a woman, can you still be considered a man? Moreover, this is a woman who has had a change of heart." After saying that, Xiao Chen turned to look at Lin Wan. Facing Xiao Chen's gaze and looking at Xiao Chen's handsome face, Lin Wan didn't know why, but a trace of fear appeared in her heart. She didn't dare to look into Xiao Chen's eyes. A woman who easily changes her heart for status and power. I really don't know why she can't let go. Wu Xing, I can tell you this responsibly. Today, this woman betrayed you for status and power. In the future, she can also betray Wu Lin for status and power. Do you think it's worth it for such a woman? Xiao Chen said indifferently. Hearing this, Wu Xing's eyes finally showed a trace of fluctuation. Originally, because of Lin Wan's betrayal, Wu Xing had already given up hope. However, now, Xiao Chen's words made Wu Xing have a different feeling in his heart. Chapter 2279. Wu Xing's behavior just now had indeed disappointed Xiao Chen. Is a woman who has changed her mind still worth your time? He thought. Wu Xing, on the other hand, seemed to have given up because of this incident. Xiao Chen could even tell that the guy had already decided to commit suicide. Wu Xing's behavior just now had indeed disappointed Xiao Chen. Is a woman who has changed her mind still worth your time? He thought. Wu Xing, on the other hand, seemed to have given up because of this incident. Xiao Chen could even tell that the guy had already decided to commit suicide. He mercilessly scolded Wu Xing. This was also because Xiao Chen had high hopes for Wu Xing during this half a month. If not, Xiao Chen wouldn't have said a single word. In Xiao Chen's eyes, Wu Xing's cultivation talent was decent and his heart was firm. If he had enough resources, it wasn't impossible for him to break through to End Realm. This was why Wu Xing, who was born in the branch family, was able to overcome all obstacles and reach Dao Realm completion. Unfortunately, in the Wu family, Dao Realm completion was Wu Xing's limit. Wu Xing also knew that. To break through to End Realm, talent wasn't enough. One needed an astronomical amount of resources. Without enough resources, no matter how talented one wouldn't be able to break through to End Realm. However, the Wu family obviously wouldn't provide such a huge amount of resources for Wu Xing. With Wu Xing's own ability, he wasn't able to obtain enough resources at all. Maybe a few hundred years later, Wu Xing would be able to save up enough resources. However, at that time, even if he had them, so what? After all, at that time, Wu Xing would have passed his peak, and it would be even harder for him to break through to End Realm. In Xiao Chen's eyes, the Wu family was a rotten family. They only looked at bloodline and not talent and strength. Those born in the direct line of descent, no matter how poor their talent was, would always have the best cultivation environment and resources, just like Wu Lin. As for those born in the branch line, no matter how talented they would only receive some insignificant resources, just like Wu Xing. If such a rotten family didn't make any changes, it would only be destroyed in the future. Because using all the resources on a group of idiots was a waste. It was a waste of limited cultivation resources, but in the end, it couldn't cultivate the corresponding experts. Wu Xing stood beside Xiao Chen with his head lowered. He didn't refute. The other 4 Wu family members didn't know what to say either. They couldn't find a reason to refute Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen faintly glanced at Lin Wan. He had no interest in this woman. The only reason he said so much was because of Wu Xing. However, as soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, 5 figures appeared out of thin air in the courtyard. The leader was a young man, and the other 4 were Dao Realm experts. However, their cultivation levels were not as high as Wu Xing's. When the 5 appeared, the young man in the lead immediately saw Wu Lin, whose face was red and swollen with blood at the corner of his mouth. He immediately said in a deep voice, "Third brother, what happened? Second brother, take them down. I want them to die." Wu Lin gritted his teeth and said when he heard the young man's words. The young man was Wu Lin's second brother, the second young master of the Wu family. When he heard Wu Lin's words, the young man's gaze locked onto Xiao Chen and the others. Just like Wu Lin, when he saw Qin Shuru and the other girls, his eyes flashed with surprise. Xiao Chen keenly noticed the change in the young man's eyes. He helplessly shook his head and said, "As expected of brothers, you really are connected." The meaning of Xiao Chen's words couldn't be clearer. Hearing this, the young man shouted, "Who are you? Why did you enter Tianwu City? Don't you know the rules of the Wu family?" Tianwu City was the headquarters of the Wu family. Apart from the members of the Wu family, everyone else who entered Tianwu City had to go through layers of check. When he heard the young man's words, before Xiao Chen could say anything, Dao Ju had already scolded with a displeased expression, "T rules. Your Wu family's rules don't apply to me." Dao Ju was about to lose his patience because of the Wu family. He didn't know if the members of the Wu family were used to riding roughshod over others, but all of them had their noses in the air and looked down on everyone. When he heard Dao Ju's scolding, one of the Dao realm experts beside the young man shouted in a deep voice, "How dare you speak to the second young master like that?" He was indeed arrogant. However, the members of the Wu family were arrogant, but there was someone even more arrogant than them. Just as the Wu family expert finished speaking, a blood-red sword light flashed past and instantly pierced through everyone's foreheads. A single strike killed the Dao realm expert of the Wu family. When the young man saw this, the expressions of the other three changed. They looked in the direction of the blood-red sword light and their gazes landed on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen slowly retracted his finger and looked at the young man and the other three. He said, "You are indeed a little impudent. The owner hasn't even said anything and a dog has already run out to bark?" It was Xiao Chen who had killed the Dao realm expert just now. When he heard Xiao Chen's words, the young man's eyes became even colder. He didn't expect that Xiao Chen would dare to kill someone before he even made a move. Didn't he know that this was Tianwu City, the territory of the Wu family? Good. It has been many years since anyone dared to challenge the dignity of the Wu family on the Tianwu continent. Very good. Today, I want to see how you will walk out of this Tianwu city. The young man was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Xiao Chen and sneered. However, as he spoke, his teeth were tightly clenched together. However, when he heard the young man's words, Xiao Chen replied indifferently, "You don't have to worry about how I will leave Tianwu city. You should think about whether you can walk out of here first." The young man made it impossible for Xiao Chen to walk out of Tianwu city, so Xiao Chen made it impossible for the young man to walk out of this courtyard. When he heard this, the killing intent in the young man's eyes intensified. He shouted coldly at the three people beside him, "Take this kid down." He was completely enraged. When they heard the young man's words, the three Wu family experts beside him immediately prepared to make a move. However, Wu Xing blocked Xiao Chen at this moment and said with a complicated expression, "Second young master, they are guests. They are guests of the Wu family. Today's matter was caused by me. It has nothing to do with them." Wu Xing didn't want Xiao Chen to have a conflict with the Wu family. Although Dao Ju was an End Realm expert, the Wu family also had End Realm experts. Moreover, there was more than one. As for Xiao Chen and Xiao Zhao's cultivation, Wu Xing didn't know. After all, along the way, Xiao Chen and Xiao Xiao didn't make a move. Wu Xing actually spoke up for an outsider. When the young man heard this, he frowned and a cold intent flashed in his eyes. However, before he could speak, Xiao Chen's voice sounded out from behind Wu Xing, "I will only say this once. Move aside. I don't need you to interfere in my matters." The voice naturally came from Xiao Chen. Although he knew that Wu Xing had good intentions, Xiao Chen also knew that with Wu Xing's position in the Wu family, his words didn't count for much. Moreover, as the head of the sword sect, Wu Xing didn't have the right to interfere in Xiao Chen's matters. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2280. Wu Xing didn't want Xiao Chen to have a direct conflict with the Wu family. However, Wu Xing clearly didn't understand Xiao Chen's personality. Xiao Chen did want to have a good talk with the Wu family. After all, they were the major powers of two different worlds, and they didn't have any conflict. They could even become friends. Wu Xing didn't want Xiao Chen to have a direct conflict with the Wu family. However, Wu Xing clearly didn't understand Xiao Chen's personality. Xiao Chen did want to have a good talk with the Wu family. After all, they were the major powers of two different worlds, and they didn't have any conflict. They could even become friends. However, after interacting with the Wu family members one after another, Xiao Chen was a little disappointed with the Wu family, one of the four major powers of the Flame Wind world. Looking at these arrogant Wu family members, they were just a bunch of trash. If the future of the Wu family depended on trash like them, then Xiao Chen could only say that the old ancestors of the Wu family were probably muddle-headed. Xiao Chun didn't have any more patience with the Wu family. Since the second young master of the Wu family arrogantly said that he would take him down, Xiao Chun didn't hold back anymore. Wasn't the Wu family arrogant? Fine, let's see who is more arrogant. After saying that, without waiting for Wu Xing to reply, Xiao Chun walked towards the second young master of the Wu family. Seeing this, Wu Xing opened his mouth. Although he wanted to say something, he swallowed the words that were at the tip of his tongue. Seeing Xiao Chun walk towards him, the second young master of the Wu family's face sunk. Then, he shouted coldly, "What are you waiting for? Take him down." Hearing this, the three Wu family Dao realm experts beside him all attacked. However, Xiao Chen's expression didn't change at all. At the same time, a terrifying aura surged from Xiao Chen's body. This aura shocked even Wu Xing. He looked towards Xiao Chen in disbelief. He didn't expect Xiao Chen to be an End Realm expert. How is that possible? End Realm. Upon sensing Xiao Chen's aura, the three Wu family experts were astonished. They didn't expect Xiao Chen to be an End Realm expert. How was it possible that Xiao Chen had reached the End Realm at such a young age? Moreover, Xiao Chen didn't reveal any aura at all. If they knew that Xiao Chen had reached the End Realm, the three of them wouldn't have dared to attack him. What a joke! An End Realm Almighty was the top existence in the Flaming Wind world. Even the Wu family head and the old ancestor wouldn't underestimate an End Realm expert. After all, although the Wu family had 8 End Realm experts, it wasn't wise to offend one for no reason. Without giving the three of them a chance to react, Xiao Chen looked at them coldly. Then, he stretched out his finger and pointed 3 times. 3 blood-red sword lights flashed. His mind was filled with such questions. He knew who he was, but why did Xiao Chen still dare to make a move against him? Was he not afraid of the Wu family at all? The Wu family's second young master was killed by Xiao Chen just like that in Tianwu City, in the main camp of the Wu family. Looking on as his second brother's body fell to the ground, Wu Lin was stunned. However, he shouted out in pain, "Second brother?" Pain and fear. Wu Lin didn't expect that because of a small matter in his eyes, his second brother would be killed. Moreover, he died right in front of him. This was Tianwu City, the main camp of the Wu family. The ending shouldn't be like this. Wu Lin's face was blank, but soon, the fear and pain in his heart transformed into hatred. He glared at Xiao Chen and shouted coldly, "I don't care who you are. Today, you will pay for my second brother's death. The Wu family won't let you off." Wu Lin had gone completely crazy. He only wanted Xiao Chen to die and avenge his second brother. Xiao Chen did not expect Wu Lin to threaten him as well. A cold look flashed in his eyes. These 2 brothers were indeed brothers. The second brother had just died in front of him, but Wu Lin had not learned his lesson at all. He even dared to threaten him. His gaze landed on Wu Lin. However, at this moment, several terrifying auras soared into the sky from the Wu family's mansion. Following that, 6 people who had reached the great perfection of the Dao realm appeared in the courtyard. The 6 of them immediately saw the second young master of the Wu family lying in the courtyard. The 6 of them exclaimed in disbelief, "Second young master!" Chapter 2282. Xiao Chen said calmly. However, as soon as he said that, a cold laugh came from the sky. "Haha, it seems like my Wu family has been too merciful these few years. Any random cat or dog dares to behave atrociously in my Wu family, is that so?" Xiao Chen said calmly. However, as soon as he said that, a cold laugh came from the sky. "Haha, it seems like my Wu family has been too merciful these few years. Any random cat or dog dares to behave atrociously in my Wu family, is that so? Along with those words, 4 white-haired old men wearing luxurious clothes appeared in the sky. The 4 of them didn't give off any aura at all. However, as they appeared, the Wu family head and the other Wu family experts all bowed. Greetings, old ancestors. Needless to say, these 4 were the old ancestors of the Wu family, 4 End Realm experts. In the face of everyone's respectful salute, the 4 people did not pay any attention to it. They just nodded slightly and slowly landed in the courtyard. Their eyes looked back and forth between Xiao Qun and Dao Ju. Then, the leader, an old man who was slightly plump, said, "Let's go." Even if they were courting death, the people of our Wu family are not people that anyone can kill just because they want to. The appearance of the old ancestors, 4 of them at once, made the Wu family feel much more confident. After all, although Xiao Qun and Dao Ju were End Realm experts, there were only 2 of them while they had 4 old ancestors. Moreover, with Xiao Qun and Dao Ju's age, no matter how talented they were, they couldn't have broken through to the End Realm for too long. The 4 old ancestors of the Wu family were all End Realm experts who had been in the End Realm for many years. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, Xiao Qun and Dao Ju didn't seem to have any advantage. All of a sudden, the Wu family members felt much more at ease. However, Xiao Qun and Dao Ju didn't show any signs of nervousness. Even when facing the 4 old ancestors of the Wu family, Xiao Qun and Dao Ju's expressions were still the same. Of course, it wasn't just the 2 of them. Qin Shuru and the other girls were the same. Only Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao were still looking around curiously. "Oh, so in this world, only your Wu family members are allowed to kill others?" Hearing the old man's words, Xiao Qun replied with a smile. As expected, if the upper beam wasn't straight, the lower beam would be crooked. Even his own old ancestor couldn't differentiate between right and wrong. No wonder the Wu family members were so arrogant. It seemed like all of this wasn't without reason. Sensing that Xiao Qun wasn't afraid at all, the old ancestor of the Wu family frowned slightly. Then, he said coldly, "Little fellow, do you think that just because the 2 of you are in the End Realm, my Wu family can't do anything?" Xiao Qun's calmness indeed surprised the old ancestor. After all, under such circumstances, he couldn't think of where Xiao Qun's confidence came from. As he said that, the old man took a step forward. Instantly, a terrifying aura surged from his body towards Xiao Qun. This old ancestor's cultivation had already reached the End Realm. However, if he wanted to use his aura to suppress Xiao Qun, he was thinking too much. He was just at the End Realm. Moreover, this old man's combat strength was only at the bottom of the End Realm. He couldn't be compared to the End Realm experts of the Great Thousand World. Moreover, the people Xiao Qun came into contact with, such as Tsang Xing, Nangong Guan, Zhou Song, and the others, which one of them wasn't at the End Realm. Therefore, facing the old ancestor's aura, Xiao Qun wasn't affected at all. He even revealed a faint smile. "Old fellow, you are already so old. Don't play such boring games. If you think that you can use your aura to make me submit, then you don't have to show yourself." The Wu family's great ancestor thought that he could force Xiao Qun to submit with his pressure alone. He was clearly dreaming. Hearing Xiao Qun's words, the Wu family's great ancestor slowly withdrew his aura and looked at Xiao Qun with a cold smile. "Good, good, good. As expected, heroes come from the young. However, you have to pay the price for killing someone, don't you think so?" Xiao Qun's expression didn't change under his aura and wasn't affected at all. This made the old ancestor think highly of him. However, even so, the Wu family couldn't let Xiao Qun and the others leave just like that. It wasn't just because Xiao Qun had killed people from the Wu family and the second young master of the Wu family. Hearing this, Xiao Qun also laughed coldly. "Just say what you want to say. There's no need to beat around the bush." Xiao Chen's first impression of this old ancestor was that he was a hypocrite. Therefore, Xiao Chen didn't treat him well. In response, the old ancestor said coldly, "Okay, since that's the case, I'll say it directly. You killed so many people from my Wu family. If you stay and serve the Wu family for 100 years as a servant, I can forget about today's matter. How about that? Stay and serve the Wu family for 100 years as a servant?" Hearing the old ancestor's words, Xiao Chen was so angry that he laughed on the spot. The Wu family was really crazy. It seemed like the Wu family had taken a fancy to Yi Shiwen and Dao Ju's strength. They wanted the two of them to work for the Wu family. In this way, the Wu family's strength would obviously rise to another level. It was indeed a good plan. However, Xiao Chen obviously wouldn't agree to such a request. Moreover, the Wu family was too naive. Did they really think that they had him for sure? To put it bluntly, in a one-on-one situation, Xiao Chen was confident that he could defeat the Wu family old ancestor within 100 moves, even though they were both End Realm cultivators and this old man was at the late End Realm. He didn't dare to say that he could kill him, but it wouldn't be difficult to defeat him. After all, an End Realm expert's life force was too strong and they weren't so easy to kill. In Xiao Chen's eyes, the 4 Wu family patriarchs were as weak as water. To put it bluntly, the 4 Wu family patriarchs were like empty shells. They had the cultivation of the End Realm, but they didn't have the combat strength to match it. Of course, Xiao Chen's evaluation was based on the Great Thousand World. In terms of the prosperity and development of the martial path, the Flame Wind World naturally couldn't compare to the Great Thousand World. This was understandable. After all, the Flame Wind World didn't have the same cultivation environment as the Great Thousand World. Therefore, it was normal for people of the same realm to have lower combat strength. Xiao Chen said unhurriedly as he looked at the Wu family patriarch with a disdainful expression. "Forget it, there's no point in talking to you. Let's just fight. I reject your conditions." A small Wu family actually dared to ask Xiao Chen and the others to be slaves. This was simply shameless. What kind of status did Xiao Chen and the others have? What kind of existences were the Sword Sect, Saber Sect, and Moon Palace? Any one of them could instantly destroy the Wu family. It was laughable that the Wu family actually wanted Xiao Chen and the others to stay in the Wu family and be slaves for 100 years. This was simply the biggest joke in the world. Xiao Chen chose to reject without hesitation. Hearing this, the faces of the 4 old ancestors of the Wu family instantly darkened. Faint killing intent appeared in their eyes. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2283. Xiao Chen was constantly disappointed in the Wu family. In Xiao Chen's eyes, how did such an idiotic family manage to become one of the 4 powers of the Flame Wind World? Xiao Chen was constantly disappointed in the Wu family. In Xiao Chen's eyes, how did such an idiotic family manage to become one of the 4 powers of the Flame Wind World? Originally, he came to Tianwu City with the intention of becoming friends with the Wu family. However, things didn't develop according to Xiao Chen's expectations. The arrogance and overbearingness of the Wu family made Xiao Chen completely give up on the idea of sitting down and having a peaceful talk with them. Thus, facing the 4 Wu family ancestors who were filled with killing intent, Xiao Chen shrugged helplessly and said calmly, "I think that even if I wanted to leave now, your Wu family wouldn't agree. Since that's the case, then come at me directly. Let's see who's stronger. Little brat, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Today, I will let you know that just because you broke through to the End Realm, you can do whatever you want. Today, I will let you know that there is always someone stronger than you." Hearing Xiao Chen's words, the 4 Wu family ancestors' auras surged into the sky. "Bring me to capture these 2 brats." Then, one of the Wu family ancestors said coldly. Then, He directly attacked Shao Chun and Dao Ju. As for Shao Chun and Dao Ju, the four old ancestors of the Wu family thought that the two of them had just broken through to the End Realm, so they didn't take them to heart at all. Therefore, only one of them made a move, while the other three watched calmly from the side. One had to say that this Wu family ancestor was too naive to want to take down Shao Chun and Dao Ju by himself. Even if the four of them attacked together, Shao Chun and Dao Ju wouldn't even care about them, much less 1 against 2. It was obvious that he was being looked down upon. Dao Ju was furious. "You don't know what's good for you." As he spoke, he took the initiative to step forward. When he saw Dao Ju advancing instead of retreating, the Wu family patriarch shouted coldly, "Ignorant brat, you're courting death. You're the one courting death." Hearing the words of the Wu clan ancestor, Dao Ju did not back down. Then, the two of them punched out at the same time. Seeing Dao Ju going head-to-head with the Wu family patriarch, the other three Wu family patriarchs smiled and said, "You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." He thought that Dao Ju was courting death, but who would have thought that before the three of them could finish their words, Dao Ju had already sent the Wu family patriarch retreating several steps with a single punch. It was obvious who had the upper hand in this exchange. Moreover, this was only a casual punch from Dao Ju. Furthermore, Dao Ju was the sect master of the Saber sect. His forte was not his fist techniques, but his saber technique. He thought that he could easily take down Dao Ju, but who would have thought that not only would he fail to take down Dao Ju, but he would also be sent retreating several steps by Dao Ju's punch. Impossible. Seeing this result, even the surrounding Wu family warriors were in disbelief. Seeing was believing. If they still didn't realize that they had underestimated Dao Ju, then the Wu family wouldn't be idiots. They would be a bunch of idiots. Immediately, the other three Wu family patriarchs looked at each other and attacked at the same time. One of them even shouted, "Let's attack together and take down these two ignorant brats first." In a one-on-one situation, Dao Ju had the upper hand. At this time, the other three patriarchs didn't care about anything else. They decided to attack together and take down Shao Chun and Dao Ju first. Seeing that the four Wu family patriarchs attacked at the same time, Shao Chun also joined the fray. He sneered. "Is 4 enough?" Facing the four Wu family patriarchs, Shao Chun and Dao Ju showed no fear. They took the initiative to charge at the four Wu family patriarchs. Immediately, the 6 of them fought fiercely in the sky above Tianwu City. The space was directly confined. Looking at the battle in the sky, the Wu family no longer had their initial arrogance. On the contrary, they had a serious look on their faces. The Wu family was arrogant and domineering, but at least they didn't lower their eyes. Shao Chun and Dao Ju were both fighting 1 against 2, but they didn't fall into a disadvantageous position. This scene naturally made the Wu family members unable to relax. What a joke! 4 patriarchs attacked at the same time, but they still couldn't take down 2 ignorant brats. How could this not shock the Wu family members? They thought that this would be an easy victory. However, as the battle continued, the Wu family members' expressions became uglier and uglier. This was because after hundreds of moves, the 4 patriarchs had not only failed to take down Shao Chun and Dao Ju, they didn't even gain the slightest advantage. On the contrary, Dao Ju and Shao Chun seemed to be handling the 4 Wu family patriarchs' attacks with ease. How is this possible? The Wu family patriarch looked at the 6 people fighting fiercely in the sky with a trace of horror in his eyes. The Wu family members were shocked. However, the ones who found it the most difficult to accept were the 4 Wu family patriarchs. They had personally experienced the terror of Shao Chun and Dao Ju. Although Shao Chun and Dao Ju didn't gain the slightest advantage, there were 4 of them. 4 of them ganged up on 2 of them, but they still couldn't win. What did this mean? Didn't this mean that they weren't a match for Shao Chun and Dao Ju in a one-on-one? They were all End Realm experts of the older generation who had been immersed in their cultivation for many years. However, now they couldn't take down two youngsters. This made the four Wu family patriarchs feel helpless. However, the truth that the four Wu family patriarchs found even harder to accept had yet to come. They originally thought that they wouldn't be able to take down Xiao Chun and Dao Ju, but Dao Ju and Xiao Chun also found it difficult to win. They were only evenly matched. However, this wasn't the case. After a fierce battle, Xiao Chun suddenly said, "4 people aren't enough. I heard that your Wu family has a total of 8 patriarchs. There are 4 more. Let them come out together." Let the 8 Wu family patriarchs attack together? Upon hearing Xiao Chen's words, the faces of the 2 great ancestors of the Wu clan who were fighting him darkened to the extreme. To them, Xiao Chen's words were clearly an insult. Immediately, their attacks became fiercer and fiercer. One of them couldn't help but shout angrily, "Kid, don't be so arrogant. 4 patriarchs couldn't take down Xiao Chun and Dao Ju. If the 8 Wu family patriarchs attacked together, no matter what the result was, it would be a humiliation for the Wu family. If outsiders knew about this, how would they evaluate the Wu family? They would only say that the Wu family was just a bunch of weaklings." Facing 2 young experts, the Wu family actually needed 8 patriarchs to attack together. This was definitely a humiliation. Knowing what the 2 patriarchs were thinking, Xiao Chun didn't have the mood to continue playing with them. A cold smile appeared on his face. Then, he used Sword World and instantly covered the 2 of them. "I said that 4 people aren't enough. Let the other 4 come together. Otherwise you will lose," Xiao Chun said coldly. "Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 2284. Xiao Chun said indifferently. If the 4 Wu family patriarchs knew that Xiao Chun and Dao Ju hadn't used their full strength, who knew what they would think? In fact, that was indeed the case. Although the battle seemed unusually intense, Xiao Chun and Dao Ju hadn't used their full strength. First of all, neither of them used the power of the realm. Secondly, Xiao Chun didn't use a sword, and Dao Ju didn't use a saber. They had been relying on their fists for the entire battle. As a sword cultivator and a saber cultivator, their combat strength was obviously incomparable when they were wielding a sword or a saber. If Xiao Chun and Dao Ju went all out from the start, the 4 Wu family patriarchs probably wouldn't last more than 100 moves because their combat strength was much weaker than Xiao Chun imagined. After playing around for so long, Xiao Chun felt a little bored. Therefore, seeing that the 4 patriarchs didn't seem to have any intention of inviting the other 4 patriarchs out, Xiao Chun directly cast the Sword Realm. The 2 great ancestors of the Wu clan who were fighting Xiao Chun were immediately shrouded by the Sword Realm. Their expressions changed. They had never felt such power before. "Sword Realm? No, this isn't the Sword Realm," one of them said in horror. At first, they thought that Xiao Chun had cast the Sword Realm. But soon, the Wu family patriarch refuted that this wasn't the power of the Sword Realm. It was a power stronger than the Sword Realm. The 2 Wu family patriarchs had lived their entire lives in the Flaming Wind Realm and had never come into contact with the power of the realm. After all, in the entire Flaming Wind Realm, there was probably no one who had a top-notch physique like the Sword physique or the Dao physique. Therefore, naturally, no one could control the power of the realm. Although they were shocked, under the Sword Realm, the 2 Wu family patriarchs soon began to struggle because the pressure of the Sword Realm was too great for them. They couldn't display their full strength at all. At least 40% of their strength was suppressed. Their combat strength was inferior to Xiao Chen's to begin with, and now that they could only display 60% of their strength, the result was obvious. Within the sword world, the weaker one's strength was, the stronger the pressure would be. It was difficult for them to compete with Xiao Chen. On the other side, Dao Ju saw that Xiao Chen was no longer in the mood to continue playing, so he also cast the Sword Realm. Wu family patriarchs were suppressed by Shao Chun. In the blink of an eye, the four ancestors of the Wu family had completely fallen into a disadvantageous position. They could even be said to be in imminent danger. For a moment, the faces of the Wu family members became increasingly unsightly. Many of them even rubbed their eyes in disbelief. How is this possible? How can the patriarchs lost? As the patriarch of the Wu family, he was also shocked as he watched the battle in the sky. He originally thought that with the four patriarchs taking action, it would be a piece of cake for them to capture Shao Chun and Dao Ju. However, the current situation was that the four patriarchs had fallen into a disadvantageous position. They were even showing signs of defeat. Even the most ignorant person could tell that if nothing unexpected happened, the four patriarchs of the Wu family patriarchs would definitely lose. Shao Chun and Dao Ju's battle prowess completely overwhelmed the four of them. They already had an overwhelming advantage. Shao Chun took his time to attack as he said indifferently, "Can you call the other four out now? Just the four of you really aren't enough." This time, the two patriarchs of the Wu family did not refute Shao Chun's words. The facts had already made everything clear. With just the four of them, there was no way they could contend against Shao Chun and Dao Ju. Originally, they had insisted on not handing over the other four patriarchs because they were worried about the Wu clan's reputation. However, now that their lives were in danger, what was there to worry about? Immediately, one of the patriarchs opened his mouth and shouted, "Why aren't you doing anything?" The four patriarchs of the Wu family patriarchs could already sense the threat of death from Shao Chun and Dao Ju. Their instincts told them that if this continued, they might lose their lives. They couldn't care less about their reputation. If they lost face, then so be it. At the very least, they had to survive this crisis first. As the Wu family patriarch spoke, a furious roar immediately rang out from the depths of the Wu family patriarch's residence. "Brat, don't be so arrogant." As the voice rang out, the other four patriarchs of the Wu family immediately joined the battle. Against Shao Chun and Dao Ju, the 8 patriarchs of the Wu family all attacked together. Seeing this, Xiao Xiao wanted to join the battle as well, but Shao Chun stopped her with a single sentence. "Protect Shui Rou and the others." It was 2 against 8, but Shao Chun did not let Xiao Xiao join the battle. On the other side, seeing the other 4 patriarchs of the Wu family take action, the Wu family members all let out a sigh of relief. Previously, they were unable to take down Shao Chun and Dao Ju, but now it was 8 against 2. Shao Chun and Dao Ju each had to face the 4 patriarchs of the Wu family. For a moment, the Wu family members all let out a sigh of relief. The reason why the Wu family was able to stand tall in the flaming wind world was because of the 8 patriarchs of the Wu family. Because of their existence, the Wu family's prosperity was guaranteed. It could be said that in the eyes of everyone in the Wu family, the 8 patriarchs were the pillars of the Wu family. As long as the 8 patriarchs did not die, the Wu family would continue to prosper. Even the patriarch of the Wu family's eyes flashed with confidence. He looked coldly at Shao Chun and Dao Ju. So what if you're strong? This is my Wu family's territory. Today I will not let you leave so easily." With the 8 patriarchs attacking together, the situation was instantly reversed. Facing 4 patriarchs of the Wu family at the same time, Shao Chun and Dao Ju seemed to be struggling. After all, the number of people had doubled, so it was naturally not as easy to deal with them as before. Moreover, Shao Chun and Dao Ju had not used their full strength. Even with the suppression of the Sword World, Shao Chun still felt the pressure of facing 4 patriarchs of the Wu family at the same time. On the other side of the Wu family, one of the 2 patriarchs who had just joined the battle looked at Shao Chun and said coldly, "Little fellow, to be able to break through to the End Realm at such a young age and have such strength, you are indeed not bad. It would be a pity for you to die like this. If you work for my Wu family, I will give you the position of patriarch, and you will be able to enjoy wealth and glory. How about it?" After personally witnessing Xiao Chen's strength, the Wu family patriarch no longer said that he would be a servant. This was because Xiao Chen's strength was enough for the Wu family to pay attention to. If such a person was willing to join the Wu family, it would definitely be a huge improvement for the Wu family. He started to use benefits to tempt Xiao Chen. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not care about a mere Wu family patriarch. Hearing the words of the Wu family patriarch, Xiao Chen smiled. "Old thing, do you really think that you have me? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." End of chapter. Chapter 2285. The 8 great ancestors of the Wu clan attacked at the same time. However, if they thought that they could defeat Xiao Chen just like that, then they were dreaming. The 8 great ancestors of the Wu clan attacked at the same time. However, if they thought that they could defeat Xiao Chen just like that, then they were dreaming. Although Xiao Chen did feel some pressure in a 1 versus 4 situation, Xiao Chen was still confident he could emerge victorious. The Wu family ancestor's face sank when he heard Xiao Chen's words. He called out coldly, "How stubborn! Since that's the case, don't blame me for being merciless." The Wu family ancestor had originally thought highly of Xiao Chen's talent and battle prowess. If he could be used by the Wu family, he would definitely become the sharpest sword in the family's hands. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen clearly had no interest in joining the Wu family. Since that was the case, he could not let Xiao Chen leave so easily. They had already become enemies, and the Wu family ancestor was no longer a child. He naturally understood that undue delay meant trouble. Since he had already offended the Wu family, he could only kill Xiao Chen and Dao Ju right here and now. He would not give them any chance to take revenge. With that in mind, the Wu family patriarch's attacks became even more ferocious. It was as if he would not stop until he was dead. Seeing this, a faint smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face. At the same time, with a thought, the dustless sword appeared in his hand. Xiao Chen's aura skyrocketed with the sword in hand, becoming extremely sharp. The 4 ancestors of the Wu family were slightly stunned when they sensed the change in Xiao Chen's aura. There was nothing they could do about it. Xiao Chen was much stronger than before. Was he still hiding his strength before? The 4 Wu family patriarchs, who were besieging Xiao Chen, couldn't help but think to themselves. Their expressions grew increasingly solemn. As if he had guessed what they were thinking, Xiao Chen said softly, "I won't hide it from you. I'm actually a sword cultivator." The 4 ancestors of the Wu family were stunned when they heard that. They naturally knew that a sword cultivator's battle prowess was on a completely different level when they used a sword and when they didn't. Earlier, Xiao Chen had not used his sword at all. He had always relied on his iron fists to fight them. Now that things had progressed to this point, how could the 4 of them not know that Xiao Chen had not used his full strength earlier? Instead, he had deliberately concealed his strength. All of a sudden, the 4 old ancestors of the Wu family felt really complicated and heavy. What kind of monster was this? Not only was he able to break through to End Realm at such a young age, but he was also so strong. However, the ancestor who had spoken earlier quickly came back to his senses. Suddenly, the Wu family head had an idea. Since Xiao Chen and Dao Ju were both very strong, he could only think of other ways. Qin Shuru and the other women were very likely to be Xiao Chen and Dao Ju's women. If he could take them down, he would definitely be able to make Xiao Chen and Dao Ju submit. At this thought, a vicious look flashed across the Wu family head's eyes. He immediately shouted angrily, "Give me those women." He couldn't interfere in the battle between Xiao Chen and the others, but in the Wu family head's eyes, it shouldn't be too difficult to take down those women. After all, how strong could a group of women be? Hearing their family head's words, the Wu family members quickly came back to their senses and attacked Qin Shuru and the other women. Seeing this, Xiao Xiao naturally stood out. An aura that was not weaker than Xiao Chun and Dao Ju's surged into the sky from Xiao Zhao's body. Following the appearance of this aura, the originally cold faces of the Wu family members instantly changed. Was this also an End Realm expert? They didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be an End Realm expert. The Wu family members were completely stunned. However, just as they were stunned, the Wu family head's voice sounded out once more. Don't worry about her. Delay her and take down the other women. The Wu family head also didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be an End Realm expert. However, since things had already reached this stage, there was no turning back. Today, he had to think of a way to deal with Xiao Chen and the others. Otherwise, the Wu family would definitely be in trouble. Since Xiao Xiao was an End Realm expert, he could only give up on her and turn his target to Qin Shuru and the other women. The Wu family head definitely didn't believe that these women were all End Realm experts. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2286. Seeing that the 8 old ancestors couldn't take down Xiao Chen, the Wu family head set his sights on Qin Shuru and the other girls, hoping to use them to turn the situation around. Seeing that the 8 old ancestors couldn't take down Xiao Chen, the Wu family head set his sights on Qin Shuru and the other girls, hoping to use them to turn the situation around. There was no better way, so even though Xiao Xiao was an End Realm expert, the Wu family head didn't choose to give up. So what if you're an End Realm expert? Even if I can't defeat you, can I restrain you? Following the Wu family head's words, the experts of the Wu family also knew that today was the most crucial moment for the entire Wu family. If they couldn't get through it, the Wu family would face a disaster. Therefore, the experts of the Wu family also attacked Xiao Xiao without fear of death. More and more Wu family members also rushed over from all over Tianwu City. The Wu family head wanted to capture Qin Shuru and the other girls. At this moment, Xiao Xiao was surrounded by thousands of Wu family cultivators. Facing these people, Xiao Xiao naturally wasn't afraid. A cold light flashed in her eyes as she said coldly, "You're courting death." After restraining Xiao Xiao, the Wu family head also shouted angrily, "Capture these girls." The Wu family head's real target wasn't Xiao Xiao. After knowing that Xiao Xiao was an End Realm expert, the Wu family head knew that it was impossible to capture her. Therefore, he immediately targeted Qin Shuru and the other girls. Seeing the many Wu family cultivators surrounding them, Tianyue, Gu Lingyao, Hongxiu, and Ing Luoxian stepped forward. Gu Lingyao even turned to Qin Shuru and said, "Sister, just protect Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao." Qin Shuru and Baihua Fairy were carrying Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao in their arms. Obviously, they weren't suitable for battle. Hearing this, Qin Shuru and Baihua Fairy didn't force it. Instead, they nodded obediently. The 2 girls naturally knew that their son's safety was the most important. However, lying in their mother's arms, Xiao Yao and Xiao Luo, these 2 brats, did not have the slightest hint of nervousness on their faces. San Yang and the others want to beat up the bad guys? Yes, San Yang and the others want to beat up bad people. Hearing this, 100 Flower Fairy smiled. As they spoke, Gu Lingyao and the other 3 girls fought fiercely with the Wu family cultivators. Although the girls rarely fought in the Great Thousand World, this didn't mean that they had given up on cultivation. With the support of the Sword Sect, the girls' cultivation had reached the small perfection of the Tao realm. They weren't far from the Great Perfection realm. Moreover, with their battle prowess, it could be said that they were almost invincible in the battle of the Tao realm. Unless they encountered geniuses like Xiao Chun and Dao Ju, their battle prowess would definitely be at the top of the same level. It wasn't just Gu Lingyao and the other 2 girls. Even Ing Luoxian's cultivation had reached the small perfection of the Tao realm. Her combat strength wasn't any weaker than Gu Lingyao and the others. Thinking about it, as Dao Ju's women, how could their combat strength be weak? When the four girls attacked, the Wu family cultivators who swarmed over suffered heavy casualties. Seeing this, the Wu family head was stunned. He didn't expect the girls to be so strong. On the contrary, there were a few Wu family elders who were at the great perfection of the Dao realm, but they were sent flying after a few moves by Gu Lingyao and the others. Such combat strength made the Wu family head's heart sink. He didn't know where these monsters came from and why they had such strong combat strength. But now, taking down Qin Shuru and the other girls was the Wu family's only hope to turn the tables. Therefore, the Wu family head didn't care about anything else and attacked personally. At the same time, he shouted angrily, "Take them down, no matter the cost." As he spoke, the Wu clan head personally attacked Qin Shuru and the other ladies. However, just as he was about to attack, a figure blocked his path. This person was none other than Wu Xing. As a member of the Wu clan, Wu Xing was currently blocking the path of the Wu clan head. The Wu family head naturally knew about Wu Xing. He was one of the few geniuses in the Wu family. His cultivation realm was the same as his own. Unfortunately, he was a branch family member. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to enter the upper echelons of the Wu family and become the center of power. A cold glint flashed in the Wu family head's eyes. He shouted coldly, "Wu Xing, what are you trying to do? Family head, don't you think it's a little too despicable to attack women and children?" Wu Xing braced himself and said. In terms of personality, Wu Xing was definitely an upright person. He wouldn't hesitate to attack women and children. Therefore, he naturally couldn't stand the Wu family's actions. In addition to what had happened today, Wu Xing stood out and blocked the Wu family head's path. Hearing Wu Xing's words, the killing intent in the Wu family head's eyes intensified. He stared coldly at Wu Xing and said, "Wu Xing, do you know what you're doing?" "I know. As a member of the Wu family, I don't want to see the Wu family become like this. If the Wu family is like this, it would be better for it to be destroyed," Wu Xing said with a gloomy expression. "You're courting death." Hearing Wu Xing's words, the Wu family head chose to attack. He fiercely struck out with his palm and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with Wu Xing. In the Wu family head's eyes, Wu Xing was a traitor. Seeing the fierce battle between Wu Xing and the Wu family head, Qin Shuru and 100 Flower Fairy, who hadn't participated in the battle, smiled faintly. 100 Flower Fairy even said softly, "This Wu Xing is not bad." Being able to stand out at such a time, 100 Flower Fairy and Qin Shuru had a higher opinion of Wu Xing. Of course, that was it. This was because even if Wu Xing didn't attack, Qin Shuru and the other girls didn't have anything to worry about. Just like now, although many Wu family cultivators were swarming over, in front of Gu Lingyao and the others, they didn't pose any threat at all. All of the Wu family's End Realm experts were restrained by Shao Qin and Dao Ju. In addition, there was still Xiao Xiao, which required a sufficient number of Wu family members to deal with. Therefore, there weren't many people that the Wu family could send out to deal with Qin Shuru and the other girls. In addition, Qin Shuru and the others weren't just flower vases. They were also very strong. As long as the End Realm experts didn't attack, to be honest, Qin Shuru and the other girls weren't in much danger. Seeing that he couldn't take down Qin Shuru and the other girls after a long time, and that he was being held back by Wu Xing, the Wu family head became more and more frustrated. His attacks became more and more violent. At the same time, his eyes became even more furious as he roared at Wu Xing, "Wu Xing, are you betraying the family and the people? Do you know that you are the sinner of the Wu family by doing this? The Wu family has been reduced to such a state by you. Am I the sinner of the Wu family or you?" Hearing this, Wu Xing didn't back down at all. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2287. Perhaps it was because of what happened today, or perhaps it was because of what Xiao Chen had said, but Wu Xing did not give the Wu family head any face at all. As a member of the Wu family, Wu Xing felt that the Wu family should not be like this. Perhaps it was because of what happened today, or perhaps it was because of what Xiao Chen had said, but Wu Xing did not give the Wu family head any face at all. As a member of the Wu family, Wu Xing felt that the Wu family should not be like this. As one of the four great forces of the Flaming Wind Realm and the overlord of the heavenly Wu continent, Wu Xing felt that the Wu family should be indomitable and tolerant, not arrogant and domineering, bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Moreover, they shouldn't just rely on their bloodline. Only the direct descendants could rise to the top. It was important to know that those who were more powerful were the first. Regardless of whether they were direct descendants or collateral descendants, they were all members of the Wu family. Whoever had the strength would naturally rise to the top. Seeing that Wu Xing dared to refute him in public, the Wu family head became even more furious. He attacked even more ruthlessly, but Wu Xing did not back down. Seeing that the Wu family head was about to attack Qin Shuru and the other women, Dao Ju, who was fighting fiercely in the sky, forced a Wu family ancestor back with a slash of his sword. He suddenly revealed a smile and said, "Should I say that all of you are stupid or stupid? You're just digging your own graves." Not knowing what Dao Ju meant, one of the Wu family ancestors said coldly, sharp-tongued, however, before he could finish his sentence, he heard a scream of agony. One of the four great ancestors of the Wu family, who had been fighting Xiao Chen, was sent flying by Xiao Chen's sword. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood. It was obvious that he had been severely injured. Dao Ju was not surprised to see that he had seriously injured a Wu family ancestor with a single slash of his sword. He smiled faintly and said, "If all of you didn't attack the women, perhaps you could have played a little longer. But since all of you attacked the women, you can't blame anyone." Everyone in the great wide world knew that Xiao Chen valued his women very much. If anyone dared to hurt Qin Shuru and the other women, Xiao Chen would definitely go crazy. However, the Wu family refused to give in and wanted to attack Qin Shuru and the other women. This undoubtedly crossed Xiao Chen's bottom line. Looking at the murderous intent in Xiao Chen's eyes, one could tell that Xiao Chen was really angry. Without holding back, Xiao Chen unleashed his full power. The sword realm was also pushed to its limits by Xiao Chen. The Wu family patriarchs, who had originally thought that the four of them would still be able to contend against Xiao Chen, now had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. In that split second, Xiao Chen's battle prowess surged once more, instantly severely injuring one of the Wu clan ancestors. This result caused the other three to turn pale with fright. "Since you're asking for it, I'll fulfill your wish." The calmness in his eyes was replaced by an extremely strong murderous intent. Sensing the murderous intent emanating from Xiao Chen, the remaining three Wu clan ancestors couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. They were no match for him, absolutely no match for him. At this moment, the three of them had the same thought in their minds. Given the powers that Xiao Chen had displayed, the three great ancestors of the Wu clan were certain that they were no match for him. What they had thought before seemed like a joke now. Apart from being frightened, the three of them also cursed the Wu clan head in their hearts. He was simply an idiot. How could he provoke such a strong enemy for the Wu clan? He was going to push the Wu clan into the abyss, never to rise again. They were both shocked and frightened, but Xiao Chen didn't give them too much time to think. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chen took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the three patriarchs. He slashed out fiercely, directly using the Emperor's sword. Xiao Chen had directly used his body as a sword. At this moment, he was in his strongest state. Every slash of his sword had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Seeing Xiao Chen's sword slash down, the three Wu clan ancestors' faces darkened. Without any hesitation, the three of them chose to dodge at the first moment. They couldn't take it head-on. From Xiao Chen's attack, the three of them felt a fatal threat. Just look at the Wu clan ancestor from before. He had been severely injured because he took Xiao Chen's sword head-on. Looking at the three patriarchs' actions, Xiao Chen naturally knew what they were thinking. The coldness in his eyes intensified, and he said coldly, "Can you dodge?" As he spoke, Xiao Chen slashed out 3 more times in a row, completely sealing off the three patriarchs' escape route. Seeing that there was no way to dodge, the three Wu clan ancestors had no other choice but to use all their strength to take Xiao Chen's sword head-on. The three patriarchs worked together to activate the spiritual energy in their bodies, forming a huge spiritual energy shield in front of them. Then, the blood-red sword slammed heavily on the spiritual energy shield. They originally thought that the three of them should be able to block Xiao Chen's attack. However, how could Xiao Chen give them another chance? If the Wu clan head hadn't chosen to attack Qin Shuru and the girls, perhaps Xiao Chen could still play with them. However, now that the Wu clan head had set his sights on Qin Shuru and the girls, he had completely touched Xiao Chen's reverse scale. The dustless sword in Xiao Chen's hand continued to be brandished. Streaks of blood-red sword aura bombarded the spiritual power shield in a frenzy. The combined power of the three great ancestors of the Wu clan, but even so, cracks soon appeared on the spiritual power shield under Xiao Chen's frenzied attack. The cracks spread rapidly like a spider's web. Noticing this, the three Wu clan ancestors' expressions changed drastically. However, before they could react, the spiritual energy shield shattered. Then, the three of them were swallowed by Xiao Chen's blood-red sword slashes. Xiao Chen severely injured the 4 Wu clan ancestors who were besieging him. The 4 Wu clan ancestors were slashed down from the sky by Xiao Chen. They crashed heavily on the ground, blood gushing out from the corners of their mouth. They were indeed severely injured. However, after doing all this, Xiao Chen didn't stop. Instead, in a flash, he appeared in front of Qin Shuru and the Fairy of 100 Flowers. Looking at the Wu clan experts who were constantly besieging him, Xiao Chen's eyes became even colder. He said coldly, "You're courting death." Then, countless sword slashes attacked the surrounding Wu clan expert. In the face of Xiao Chen's sword slashes, the weaker Wu clan experts died on the spot. The stronger Wu clan warriors were also severely injured. For a moment, the entire Tianwu city seemed to have turned into hell. Blood flowed everywhere. Looking at the scene before him, the Wu clan head, who was fighting with Wu Xing, was completely stunned. He muttered, "How can this be? How can this be?" He never imagined that the final outcome would be like this. Watching the Wu clan experts die one by one at the hands of Xiao Chen, the Wu clan head was completely stunned. He couldn't help but think in despair, is the Wu clan going to be destroyed just like this? Just as the Wu clan head turned pale with fright and despair in his heart, a loud shout suddenly came from the sky. "Everyone, stop!" As the voice rang out, the Wu clan experts all stopped what they were doing and looked up at the figure in the sky. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2288. In the sky, the 4 Wu family ancestors who had been heavily injured by Xiao Chen appeared pale-faced, and blood dripped from the corners of their mouths. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, the 4 of them couldn't bear to see it. At the same time, with the shout from before, everyone stopped what they were doing. Even the 4 Wu family ancestors who were fighting fiercely with Dao Ju took the initiative to stop and come to the side of the 4 people. "How are you? Are you all right?" Dao Ju hadn't killed them, so the 4 Wu family ancestors who had been fighting Dao Ju weren't seriously injured. However, the 4 Wu family ancestors who had been fighting Xiao Chen were different. It was obvious that they were heavily injured. The 4 nodded and one of them said helplessly, "We're all right. We won't die." His words were filled with helplessness. Now that things had come to this, the Wu family could only lower their heads. Who would have thought that Xiao Chen's group would be so strong? Even when the four ancestors worked together, they were still heavily injured by Xiao Chen. If the battle continued, the Wu family would probably be wiped out. They looked at Xiao Chen with mixed feelings. So many people from the Wu family had been killed this time, but as Wu family ancestors, they had no choice but to lower their heads. This was indeed an extremely humiliating matter. But what could they do about it? This was what it meant to be weaker than others. However, the Wu family had always dominated the world and hadn't lowered their heads for a long time. This time, however, the Wu family had been forced to lower their heads by Xiao Chen. Unless the Wu family fought Xiao Chen's group to the death, they would have no choice but to lower their heads. Under everyone's gaze, the 8 Wu family ancestors slowly landed in front of Xiao Chen. Dao Ju, Xiao Xiao, Gu Lingyao, and the others all returned to Xiao Chen's side. Xiao Chen looked at the 8 Wu family patriarchs calmly and had no intention of speaking. Seeing this, one of the Wu family patriarchs stepped forward and said sincerely, "The Wu family was in the wrong today. We are willing to compensate you. I wonder if you would be so kind as to let us off the hook?" His attitude was very humble. As the Wu family patriarch, it was obvious that he couldn't share the ice dew with an idiot like Wu Lin. He knew that if he still didn't know what was good for him and spoke arrogantly in front of his master, he would definitely be courting death. Therefore, the Wu family patriarch clearly knew his place. Xiao Chen smiled faintly when he heard the Wu family patriarch's words. Then, he said coolly, "Compensation? So, your Wu family's admitting defeat?" Xiao Chen made no attempt to hide his intentions. Many members of the Wu clan were enraged when they heard this. However, the Wu clan great ancestor smiled bitterly and said, "That's right. The Wu clan admits defeat and is willing to fulfill any of your conditions. Since they were inferior, they could only admit defeat." Xiao Chen smiled. Fortunately, Qin Shuru and the others weren't injured. Otherwise, Xiao Chen probably wouldn't have listened to the Wu family ancestor. He would definitely slaughter the entire Wu family. However, since Qin Shuru and the others weren't injured and the Wu family had voluntarily admitted defeat, Xiao Chen gave up on the idea of killing them all. However, some people could live, but some people had to die. Xiao Chen didn't directly answer the Wu family ancestor. He pointed a finger and a blood-red sword light shot towards Wu Lin. The Wu family didn't expect Xiao Chen to suddenly attack. Besides, even if they knew beforehand, Wu Lin wouldn't be able to block it with his strength. As expected, the blood-red sword light pierced through Wu Lin's glabella and killed him. No one expected Xiao Chen to kill Wu Lin with a single finger. Wu Lin's corpse collapsed to the ground. Before he could even say a word, the Wu family head yelled in grief. "My son!" In a flash, Xiao Chen appeared before Wu Lin. The Wu family head hugged Wu Lin's corpse with tears streaming down his face. 2 of his sons had died at Xiao Chen's hands in a row. He was devastated. The head of the Wu family glared at Xiao Chen as if he was about to spit fire. He gritted his teeth and said, "You killed my sons. I will not rest until you are dead. Unfortunately, you won't have the chance." In the face of the Wu family head's angry roar, Xiao Chen replied indifferently. Then, he pointed a finger and a blood-red sword light shot towards the Wu family head. Perhaps he thought that Xiao Chen wouldn't dare to kill him. It had to be said that the Wu family head's bloodline was indeed the same. The son was useless, and the father was the same. Seeing the blood-red sword light shooting towards him, the Wu family head yelled in horror. You can't kill me. I am the head of the Wu family. If you kill me, the Wu family will not rest until you are dead." He was really naive. The Wu family head didn't dare to kill him? These words sounded like a joke. In front of so many Wu family members, Xiao Chen killed the Wu family head with a single finger. Then, he looked at the 8 Wu family ancestors and said, "All right, we can talk now." The Wu family head thought that his high position in the Wu family meant that he was indispensable to the Wu family. Little did he know that his life and death were no longer important to the Wu family. Even the ancestors had personally admitted defeat. Now that Xiao Chen had killed the Wu family head, no one would speak up for him. They watched the Wu family head die, but no one in the Wu family stood up for him. Even the 8 ancestors had tacitly approved of Xiao Chen's actions. What a joke! Compared to the entire Wu family, the life and death of the Wu family head were nothing. As long as the Wu family didn't perish, it would be easy to choose a new family head. As long as the Wu family existed, there would be plenty of choices for the family head. However, once the Wu family perished, everything would be empty talk. The corners of the Wu family's patriarch's mouth curled into an unnatural smile. When he heard Xiao Chen's words, he smiled apologetically and said, "Yes, yes." The funny thing was that the Wu family head didn't understand that his life and death didn't matter at all. Xiao Chen didn't even need to do anything. As long as Xiao Chen said the word, the 8 ancestors of the Wu family might be able to kill him personally. After all, compared to Xiao Chen's anger, the death of the Wu family head was insignificant. He personally invited Xiao Chen and the others to the Wu family residence. However, just as they arrived outside the Wu family residence, a terrifying pressure enveloped the entire Tianwu city. Feeling this pressure, the expressions of the Wu family members, including the 8 ancestors, changed drastically. Xiao Chen and the others were the same. Xiao Chen couldn't help but say, "Emperor?" This pressure had clearly surpassed the End Realm and belonged to the Emperor realm. Along with the appearance of this pressure, an angry roar could be heard. "Unfilial son, come out and accept your death. It's over, my father." Hearing this voice, Dao Ju's expression instantly turned ugly. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Chapter 2289. Dao Ju was naturally very familiar with this aura. He had felt this aura since he was young. Looking at Dao Ju's bitter expression, Xiao Chen was slightly shocked. This Dao Ju actually chased him to the Flaming Wind world? Xiao Chen's group was a little better. After all, they all knew Dao Ju's identity, so they secretly heaved a sigh of relief. On the other hand, the Wu family members were all pale. Even the 8 Wu family ancestors were completely stunned at this moment. They had no choice. If they were facing Xiao Chen and the others, the Wu family could still put up a fight. But facing Dao Xiong, just his aura alone was enough to make everyone in the Wu family tremble in fear. They couldn't even think of resisting. They had never felt such a terrifying aura before. The Wu family members broke out in cold sweat. At this moment, one of the elders braced himself and came in front of Xiao Chen, asking respectfully, "Young Master Xiao, may I ask who this person is?" Since he already knew the names of Xiao Chen and Dao Ju, this elder respectfully addressed Xiao Chen as young master. Hearing this, Xiao Chen calmly replied, "Oh, Dao Ju's father. He's probably here to teach his son a lesson." The person who came was Dao Ju's father. Hearing this, the Wu family members couldn't help but look at Dao Ju. Who exactly was this guy? Who was his father? How could he be so strong? The Wu family members naturally didn't know what an emperor was. After all, an emperor had never appeared in the Flaming Wind world. Hearing this, the Wu family ancestor asked, "May I know this senior's cultivation?" "Oh, an existence that surpasses the End Realm." Xiao Chen didn't know how to explain to the Wu family members about an emperor. He could only simply say that he was an existence that surpassed the End Realm. Xiao Chen gave a very simple reply, but it was like a clap of thunder in the ears of the Wu family members. Many of them were stunned, and they all murmured, "An existence beyond the end of the realm." In the understanding of the Wu family, the End Realm should be the end of the martial path. However, who would have thought that there would be an even stronger existence above the End Realm? Today they had personally experienced it. Just a wave of aura was enough to make the entire Wu family in Tianwu City unable to resist at all. They could only choose to submit. The Wu family members were shocked, but Xiao Chen was puzzled. Why did Dao Xiong personally come to the Flaming Wind World? With Dao Xiong's identity, the Flaming Wind World shouldn't be attracted to him. Xiao Chen didn't know that Song Xing and the others were planning to personally go to the Flaming Wind World to receive Xiao Chen. But in the end, Dao Xiong took the initiative to go to the Flaming Wind World, and Jun Wuya didn't object. So, the experts of the Sword Sect, and Moon Palace didn't make a move. Only Dao Xiong came. As he spoke, Dao Xiong's figure appeared in front of Dao Ju out of thin air. He was dressed in simple gray cotton clothes, but at this moment, Dao Xiong gave people the feeling that he was incomparably tall. At least, the people of the Wu family did not dare to look directly at him. Dao Xiong didn't care about the Wu family members at all. The moment he appeared, his gaze locked onto Dao Ju. He revealed a cold smile and said, "Little brat, you've grown up. You even dare to steal my spatial spirit boat? See if I don't beat you to death today." Dao Xiong raised his hand and was about to hit Dao Ju. Seeing this, Dao Ju hid behind Xiao Chen and said with an embarrassed smile, "Father, there are so many people here. Give me some face." "Little brat, who do you think you are? How dare you ask for face in front of me? Get over here," Dao Xiong scolded. Looking at the father and son, and Dao Ju's incessant pleading, Xiao Chen could only bite the bullet and step forward. He bowed to Dao Xiong and said with a bitter smile, "Xiao Chen greets senior." "Oh, so it's Chener. Move aside, I'll teach this little brat a lesson first." Dao Xiong revealed a kind smile. Xiao Chen wanted to move aside, but Dao Ju grabbed his body. Xiao Chen felt helpless, but under Dao Ju's pleading gaze, he could only bite the bullet and say, "Senior, why don't you go back first? Senior, don't you think we should head back first? After all, there are too many people here." They were surrounded by people from the Wu family. It would be inappropriate for Dao Xiong to beat up Dao Ju here. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Dao Xiong glared at Dao Ju and said, "Little brat, I'll teach you a lesson when we get back." After saying that, Dao Xiong gave up on attacking. Dao Ju secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Then, Dao Xiong looked around and said casually, "Why? What? You want to attack my son?" With Dao Xiong's eyesight, how could he not see that Xiao Chen and the others had just been through a huge battle? Moreover, there were still many corpses in Tianwu City. However, after hearing Dao Xiong's words, the 8 ancestors of the Wu family immediately shook their heads and smiled apologetically. "Senior, you must be joking. How would we dare to offend your son? It was just a misunderstanding before, but it has been cleared up now." Even Xiao Chen and the others of the Wu family weren't his match. Now that Dao Xiong had appeared, who had surpassed the End Realm, the Wu family didn't dare to offend him. Although they didn't see Dao Xiong attack, the aura that Dao Xiong exuded made the 8 ancestors of the Wu family know that the man in front of them definitely had the ability to destroy the Wu family. Moreover, the Wu family didn't even have the ability to fight back. Fear and despair couldn't be used to describe their current feelings. The Wu family members were completely stunned. They didn't know what kind of people they had offended. In addition, it was also a good opportunity to taste the Flaming Wind World. In the Great Thousand World, many people knew that Dao Xiong loved wine. As long as it was good wine, there was nothing that Dao Xiong did not like. Dao Xiong went to enjoy the wine by himself, while Xiao Chen and the others were welcomed into the hall by the remaining 7 ancestors of the Wu family and the other members of the Wu family. In the hall, Xiao Chen, Dao Ju, and Xiao Xiao naturally sat side by side in the main seat. As for Qin Shuru and the other ladies, they sat on either side of Xiao Chen and Dao Ju. However, Xiao Yao and Xiao Luan were clearly a little restless. Seeing this, Xiao Chen smiled and said to Qin Shuru and the other ladies, "Bring them down for a stroll. It's quite boring to bring them here." These two little fellows were really lively and active. Naturally, they couldn't stay here. Hearing this, Qin Shuru and the other ladies did not refuse. After smiling and nodding at Xiao Chen, they left with Xiao Yao and Xiao Lao. Of course, before they left, they naturally called Ying Luoxian and Xiao Xiao along. After the ladies left, the 7 ancestors of the Wu family were very perceptive and arranged for people to take care of them. Xiao Chen did not say anything about this. With the strength of the ladies, there was basically no one in the Wu family who could threaten them. After the ladies left, Xiao Chen looked at the 7 elders of the Wu family and said with a smile, "It's said that the Wu family is an ancient family with a heritage of more than 10,000 years. However, in my opinion, the Wu family is really disappointing," Xiao Chen said bluntly. In response, the 7 ancestors of the Wu family naturally did not dare to refute and nodded repeatedly. What a joke! Now that the entire Wu family was in the hands of others, if Xiao Chen was unhappy and destroyed the Wu family, who would they offend? Although the Wu family suffered a great loss this time because of Xiao Chen and the others, and even the family head was killed, the Wu family's foundation was still intact. Moreover, the 8 ancestors of the Wu family did not die. As a result, the Wu family was still the overlord of the Tianwu continent and was still one of the 4 great powers of the Flaming Wind realm. Of course, the premise was that the Wu family could pass this hurdle. If Xiao Chen wanted, the Wu family would cease to exist in this world. At that time, there would be no need to talk about anything else. As a result, the 7 ancestors of the Wu family were extremely nervous when they faced Xiao Chen. At the same time, they were very careful, afraid of angering Xiao Chen and the others. If that happened, the Wu family would be in great trouble. Xiao Chen could also see the fear in their hearts. Before the ancestors of the Wu family could reply, he said indifferently, "All right, I have no intention of destroying your Wu family." Chapter 2291. Xiao Chen never had any thoughts about the Wu family. He only came to the Wu family to learn more about the Flame Wind world. As for taking the Wu family for his own use, that was something he had never thought of. The reason was that the Wu family was too weak. Xiao Chen never had any thoughts about the Wu family. He only came to the Wu family to learn more about the Flame Wind world. As for taking the Wu family for his own use, that was something he had never thought of. The reason was that the Wu family was too weak. Just as Xiao Chen thought, the 8 ancestors of the Wu family added together were probably not as strong as Zhang Xing. If that was the case, what use would the Wu family have for the sword sect? The reason why Xiao Chen suggested Wu Xing to be the head of the Wu family was purely because he had a good impression of Wu Xing. At least compared to the other members of the Wu family, this person was much more upright. He was not like the other members of the Wu family who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Moreover, Wu Xing's talent was not low in the Wu family. If he had enough cultivation resources, Wu Xing had a chance to break through to the End Realm. Of course, his End Realm could not be compared to the End Realm in the Great Thousand World. His talent and cultivation were enough to become the head of the Wu family. However, there was one more thing, which was courage. Xiao Chen did not know that Wu Xing had not made an exception for the head of the Wu family. Thinking about this, Xiao Chen could not help but look at Lin Wan, who was standing behind Wu Xing. Today's matter was actually caused by Lin Wan and Wu Lin's adultery. Now that Wu Lin was dead, Lin Wan naturally would not let her go. Therefore, she was brought to the Wu family mansion. Of course, there were 2 experts of the Wu family behind Lin Wan to guard her. Wu Xing did not expect Xiao Chen to nominate him as the head of the Wu family. Hearing this, Wu Xing was stunned. The 7 ancestors of the Wu family all looked at Wu Xing at the same time. The 7 ancestors of the Wu family naturally did not have much contact with Wu Xing. They had never even heard of such a person in the Wu family. However, as they looked at Wu Xing, the 7 Wu family patriarchs fell into deep thought. With their eyesight, they could naturally tell that Wu Xing's cultivation was at the Dao realm great perfection. Just like Wu Lin's father, it was definitely not a problem for him to be the head of the Wu family. After a moment of silence, one of the Wu family patriarchs asked, "Wu Xing, which branch are you from?" As a large clan with tens of thousands of years of history, the Wu family naturally had many bloodlines. Therefore, they were divided into the direct line and the collateral line. Hearing this, Wu Xing's expression changed slightly, but he still answered truthfully. As the Wu family patriarchs, they naturally didn't want to see the Wu family walk down the path of destruction. Dao Ju's words undoubtedly woke them up. Immediately, the 7 Wu family patriarchs looked at Wu Xing in a different light. Wu Xing's talent clearly passed the test to be able to break through to the Dao realm perfection stage without the Wu family's support. With this change in attitude, the 7 Wu family patriarchs also changed their view of Wu Xing. They no longer focused on Wu Xing's birth and started to pay attention to other aspects. His talent passed the test, but what about his methods and methods? After all, to become a qualified patriarch, apart from talent and battle prowess, he also needed to have enough methods and courage. Clearly, they couldn't make a conclusion about this right now. However, after staring at Wu Xing for a while, one of the patriarchs suddenly noticed Lin Wan behind Wu Xing's. Surprise flashed through his eyes, and he said calmly, "Wu Xing, young master Xiao has suggested that you be the head of the family. Us old fellows naturally have no objections. However, today's matter was ultimately caused by your wife, Lady Lin. Therefore, I hope that you can give everyone in the Wu family an explanation." None of them dared to make a suggestion to Xiao Chen. However, the patriarch had given Wu Xing a difficult problem. He wanted to test Wu Xing's methods and courage, and see how he would deal with the matter between Lin Wan and Wu Lin. A wisp of satisfaction flashed through Xiao Chen's eyes when he heard the patriarch's words. He thought to himself, these old foxes don't have much battle prowess, but they're quite shrewd. It seems like a simple test, but it's enough to see that Wu Xing isn't suitable for the position of patriarch. Please add me to your collection. Please recommend me. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.